Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Bradenton City Council meeting, August 12th, 2020. City Council chambers will be open to the public. All are welcome to attend this meeting. Social distancing and screening will be enforced. Any member of the public wishing to comment may do so at the meeting. Citizens may also submit their comments in writing to cityclerk@cityofbradenton.com or voicemail by calling 941-932-9437. All comments must be received by Tuesday, August 11th at 3. And always, we begin our deliberations with an invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. The invocation will be brought to us this morning by Pastor Don Storiano, Kingdom Life Christian Church.
Good morning, everyone. Would you stand, please, and bow your heads? Dear Heavenly Father, I pray for each city leader that your abundant blessings would be upon them in every area of their lives and their families. Protect them, guide them, strengthen them, keep them, and remind each one of them that they are loved, significant, needed, honored, and made in your divine image, and help them to see one another the same. I also declare this over every precious employee and citizen of our friendly city. I pray for today's city council meeting that wisdom would be their rudder, your will would be their compass, and a love for the city and its people would be the fuel that propels them to the destinations of decision. I pray where there's diversity in opinion, it wouldn't manifest in a division, asking that the spirit of unity, honor, kindness, and compassion would be championed even in the midst of disagreement. I pray our minds would be renewed to all that is true and noble and reputable and compelling and gracious, the best and not the worst, the beautiful and not the ugly, things to praise and not things to curse. That you, Lord, who makes everything work together, will work us all into your most excellent harmonies. I pray and beseech thee, Father, that your glorious kingdom would come and your perfect will would be done in the city of Bradenton as it is in heaven. And as in the name of Jesus the Christ, I pray this all. Amen.
Amen. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the meeting to order. Ms. Beauchamp?
Good morning. We have no proclamations this morning, and we have no presentations.
Point of the meeting of citizen comments. Of Keenan Wooten signed.
All right, good morning. Kind of Wooten's Corner here again. I'm always here. 19th Street Court East. We're getting fed up with this. We don't have any confidence. I've been here for 3 months. Still fighting this war over there. No one's talked to Avondale, Oatmeat Apartments. They just flow over. Now they're starting to come down, park down by my house. So I don't know what to do. But you know, the people in the community, we're getting sick of it, and something's going to happen. 27th Street East, that project over there. Like I said, traffic is already horrible. It's one way in, one way out. Taxpayers, homeowners over there. My 98-year-old aunt stays at that corner there going into MLK and 27th. It's the Wild Wild West over there, and we don't want to jam another hundreds of units in that area. We want development, but we just want to rethink that. So, gonna look at that. Like I said, over there on 19th Street, Court East, it's just a lot of problems. We want some relief. Not gonna give up on that fight because I can't even pull out. I can't even look left when I'm pulling out from 11th Avenue. I'm trying to look left, and there's a whole bunch of cars parked there. I can't even. I almost got hit the other day. And I tell you to be on you all if nothing changes. I don't know if Bradenton Housing Authority, I don't know if they care or not. You know, do they care? Do we know? I don't know. That's $1 million enterprise there. But I know we own homes over there too. So we have a right over there to voice our opinion too and live happily and safe. School is starting. If you guys know, Ward 5 is the most bust out neighborhood in the county. Do your data. Look at the data. Look at the numbers. Our kids go everywhere. Lakewood Ranch, Mona Jane, all the new schools, they pull the black kids out of there. Second half of busing. Do your history on that. But we deserve to be safe in that neighborhood. They're going to bust us out, then cars parked all over the darn place. It's just hideous. But we need relief. You can bust our kids out, but they're going to be safe when they come back. I might not get to the mountaintop with that, but I'm going to fight. You know, I might not even get the chance to see the day, but at least I know I fought for it. I fought a hard fight. I know I don't know what it's going to entail for me going up against CEOs, owners of apartment complexes, but I guess I'll fight it. 26 MLK. We had, like I said, on 27th, we had that girl killed at that four-way stop, and now we're going to build something else down there. And then everybody else runs out like, hey, it's a great project, but then the community has to deal with it. So thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Good timing.
Anyone else who wishes to speak to council on any non-agenda item? Anyone who would like to talk to council? Anyone like to talk to council? Scott, we have several people signed up on 3059. I think I'll hold that group until we get to that on the agenda.
Yes.
All right. Ms. Beauchamp?
Next we have the consent agenda. We're asking for approval of items A through J.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Consent agenda is approved. The vote's 5-0. Ms. Beauchamp?
Next, we have business advertising, petitions, hearings, and communications. We have a public hearing for the Edward Byrne Justice Assistance Grant. This is a public hearing and brought forward by the police department. I believe this is for a vehicle for community policing, and it's a grant application that requires a public hearing today.
Is everyone going to speak on this?
You have to open
Public
it.
hearing.
If it's a public hearing, just tell us what it's about before we start the public hearing.
Good morning. I'm happy to answer any questions. I think the material provided is pretty explanatory. This is something that we're seeking in furtherance of monies that we applied for a JAG grant. It fits within the purview of this grant, something that we haven't had before. You'll see that the discussion today in various areas surrounds our further commitment towards community policing. We don't want a simple car riding around that looks like every other car. As you know, with some of the vehicles that we have put out on the street in the past few years, we like to advertise who we are, the city, what we do. We have a recruiting vehicle. We have a surveillance vehicle that lets everybody know it's a surveillance vehicle. Now we want to let everybody know our commitment to community policing.
How much is the grant?
23,115. 13.
Any questions of Police Chief? Okay,
Thank you.
thanks, Melanie. Let's open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this request? Anyone who wishes to speak in favor? Anyone in favor? Anyone in opposition to this request? Any opposition? Any opposition? Hearing none, close the public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve the Edward Brian James Assistance Grant for a training vehicle.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve the request. Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
1.
Yes.
Motion is approved. The vote's 5-0. Ms. Beauchamp?
Next, we have Vicky White with Resolution 2062. This is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Bradenton, Florida, approving the City of Bradenton's CDBG 2020-2021 Annual Action Plan, providing an effective date. I believe Vicky asked for approval of this today.
This is the, this is the CDBG action plan. As you're aware, it's come in front of you previously when talking about how the funds would be used. It was then sent out for public comment for several weeks to be able to see if there's any public comment as to the way it is, and now it finally comes back to you for final approval. The bulk of these funds will be used for low-income assistance to benefit low and moderate income residents, used through the subrecipients that we had agreed to fund through the public process. So we're requesting your approval of the annual action plan for the 2021 year for the CDBG funds.
Motion to approve 2062.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve Resolution 2062. Is there any more discussion? Mr. Rolfe?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, Carl, the CDBG funds for this year, because I'm looking at the other, I was going to ask you later about the CARES Act. So we know it's for $437,387?
CDBG has been allocated. It's the SHIP funds that we're not getting.
Okay, great. Fine.
Any more discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5, 1,
Yes.
2.
Yes.
Resolution 2062 is approved. Votes 5-0. Ms. Beauchamp?
Next, we have item LU.20.0494. This is the second reading and public hearing of Ordinance 3059, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, providing for amendment to the City of Bradenton zoning atlas, changing the zoning designation from R2 two-family residential to R3 multifamily residential for the property located at 1201 27th Street East, and more particularly described in the attached Exhibit A, providing for applicability, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Again, this is the second reading and public hearing, and we're asking for a decision on this today.
Good morning.
Honey.
If I may, Marshall McCreary, Planning and Zoning Manager with Planning and Community Development Department. I have a brief presentation regarding this case, if you could. Thank you, Sharon. This is ordinance number 3059 associated with the rezoning case LU 200494. As was mentioned, this is a request to rezone about 12.4 acres from the R2 two-family residential district to the R3 multifamily residential district. Property is located at 1201 27th Street East. It's located at the corner of 27th Street East and 11th Avenue East. And again, about 12.4 acres. The underlying future land use associated with this property is medium-density residential. You see that predominates the area surrounding the property. Those that are dimmed there are county properties, actually, so we don't see the zoning or the land use reflected there. The land use is, of course, your basis for density. Nothing's changing there. That is the basis that they would operate under. And the request here is to convert from this current R2 to the R3. R3 would introduce multifamily development opportunities to this property, whereas currently it's limited to single-family or duplex only. And there are some key differences between R2 and R3. In addition to the addition of the additional housing type, of multifamily. It also allows more design flexibility by reducing minimum lot sizes and allowing for larger lot coverage, and it also increases potential building height. The limit for building height in R2 is 35 feet. Under R3, it can go up to 45 feet. So essentially, R3 allows for smaller lot sizes, greater lot coverage, and there may be more buildable area within the site as a result of the zoning change. Doesn't change the allocation of units, but it does change how they might deliver those units within the property. Section 3.1.5 of the Land Use Regulations governs rezonings and provides us with some criteria by which we should assess a request to change the zoning. First being consistency with the comprehensive plan. Staff does find R3 is consistent with that underlying future land use designation of medium-density residential. We find that R3 zoning is compatible with adjacent and surrounding land uses. This area is already served with adequate public facilities and, as noted in the staff report, lies on a transportation route as well. The proposed zoning will not result in a conflict with the interests of the public. It will deliver residential in an area that is delivering residential. And we find that it's consistent with the land use regulations and could result in a compliant development if converted to R3. So it's based on our findings that it meets these criteria, that it's consistent with R3 zoning and the comprehensive plan, and is compatible with the development pattern of the surrounding area, that staff is recommending favorably for this request. This was heard by the Planning Commission in regular session back in June of this year, and they did recommend approval by a vote of 5 to 3. I'm available for any questions if you have them.
Any questions of?
Yeah. This is the driving range along 27th Street, just for the purposes of conversation. I think everybody probably in the crowd knows that, correct? And the street in front of it is controlled by the county?
Correct.
It's county, so any traffic issues that might be occurring with this is actually a county problem, and Bradenton has no authority in that regard. True?
This is true. This is
Okay. And the property beside it, River Trace, I believe it is apartments?
true. To the south, River
Or
Trace.
south of it, yes, and so that was rezoned at some point in time?
It carries the R2 zoning as well, but it had a PDP zoning on it that allowed for the development to deliver in multifamily format.
So this property does not?
This property has R2 zoning. So it had a planned development project zoning overlay put on it.
Okay.
The city mass rezoned back in 2010 and kind of erased the record of that, but that is how they delivered the multifamily
Okay.
format there.
So that was in 2002? Okay, so there's been no traffic studies or anything done along this?
I'm not aware of any plans for widening by the county. The applicant may be prepared to address that further, but I have not seen any preparedness on the county's part to widen this corridor at this point.
That's all I have, thank you.
Mr. Bird?
Yes, I guess one of my main questions is in relationship, you say that you can increase under the R3 the building height.
Building height, correct.
Okay, and I'm very familiar with the area, and I realize you're saying it's sort of compatible with the other developments in the area, but when you look to the north of the proposed project, that's single-family homes, correct?
Correct. The north is predominantly single-family home.
Okay, and even though, as you look to the west, you have one of the complexes run by the Bradenton Housing Authority, those particular structures are pretty much duplexes. They're one story. Okay, so when you say that it's compatible with the areas, we're looking at some of the developments that are to the south and not really any of those, because if you go up, I imagine 40 some odd feet, you're talking about 3-foot structures, am I correct?
45 could be
Excuse me,
three-story.
three-story,
Yeah.
three-story.
It could deliver 3 stories, sure.
3 foot, 3-story, okay.
The compatibility is based on the variety of housing types in the area, as well as the zoning that allows for that variety. So that R2 zoning that's there, though may support single-family, it can also support duplex as well.
Right.
And we point out the T4R across the street, which supports the full array of
Yeah.
housing delivery.
I guess my thing is, by going to the multi-family type of a situation on the property, you can, say, have up to pretty much three-story structures, and it's right adjacent to some single-family homes. And I realize, you know, that what's approved there now is not going to increase the density. Am I correct on that?
It will not increase the density.
Okay.
That cannot be affected by the change in zoning.
Okay, no other questions.
Any other, Ms. Bartleby?
Thank you, sir. First of all, with this mask on, can you understand me? I'm wearing a different mask today, so I just want to make sure that everyone can understand me, or I'll take it off.
I can.
Mr. McCready, should the council approve this today, will this project then come back to us at any point for approval?
If it develops under conventional R3 zoning, then it's an administrative process. Just like much of the development that's out there. If it's not seeking to deviate from the underlying zoning, if they don't need to seek a variance, well, a variance wouldn't come to you, but if they don't need to seek a special use approval or get special zoning through like a planned development project, then it's not something you see. So it would be administratively reviewed for technical compliance by the city, but they could deliver and you would not, or deliver the project, but you wouldn't see it.
This would be our only chance to weigh in on what goes there.
Correct.
At this point.
Correct. You're putting reliance on the zoning code to ensure the development is appropriate.
Thank you.
Alex?
Thank you. Marshall, you stated that change into R3 will not increase the density.
Correct.
And basically what that means is there's not going to be any more units per acre.
We cannot add any additional units per
But
acre. And it's important for folks to understand, density is just a math number. It's
Yes.
a number
Well,
of
the
your
point
base-
I'm fixing to get to, while the units will be increased, when you do that, the population in that development is going to increase. And the population means there's going to be more cars in that area trying to travel on 27th Street. Would that be correct?
Well, invariably, when you build, when there's nothing there, there's going to be more traffic. Invariably.
Right, but R2 compared to R3, R2 will have less participation on that road than R3 would.
I can't say that with assurance. The potential is there that under R3, because of the reduced lot sizes, you could get more units that you're entitled to anyway, but you could fit more units within. I'm trying to think, it's a box that doesn't change its size, but the size of the marbles we're putting in the box are getting smaller. And so
Well-
you can put more marbles perhaps in that.
How many
box.
units can they put on that property under R2?
There's a maximum number at 10 units per acre. 12.4 times 10 is 124 units. There are
Okay.
bonus eligibility for affordable units up to 15 units per acre, which could, under R2 or R3, be delivered. So up to 15 units per acre is the absolute maximum
With R3?
with R2 or R3. And that's tied to that medium density land use designation here that is not affected or not changed.
So are you saying with R2, they can get as many units as they can with R3?
By the math, yes. When they spatially allocate the units out, and knowing they can only deliver duplexes or single-family, they may not be able to deliver that maximum number of units, where they could possibly deliver that maximum number of units under R3, because R3 lets me do multifamily. So multifamily units take less space, because I can stack them and go higher. And potentially under R2, I could only deliver 140 units, but under R3, I can deliver you 160 units.
I'm wondering what?
160 units, I'm just speculating. That doesn't change the maximum number of units that that acreage carries, which is 15 times 12.4, whatever that maximum number of units amounts to.
So could you positively state in your mind, I know you're not a traffic study engineer, that R2 would have, if it's R2, there would be less impact on 27th Street compared to R3?
I would be speculating.
I'm sorry?
I would be speculating to say such. It really delivers on what the developer ultimately produces here.
Well, shouldn't we know what they're going to develop before we approve it?
You do know. Your zoning code tells you R3 is going to allow single-family, duplex, or multifamily development.
But you're saying only 10 more units could be built.
I guess let me back up and say, let's say this case is before you and someone approaches to develop under R2 today, and they propose some number of units that's compliant with their density allocation. They could build that today without seeking any further approval. And what that number of units is, I wouldn't necessarily know. It could be up to their maximum density, but they can't deliver anything above that. But they can certainly deliver any number less. So let's say the market is, for this developer, is better to deliver single-family units. They might only choose to deliver single-family units because they can perhaps make more money or deliver the product they want to deliver in that manner. So that would be fewer vehicles. But I can't guarantee what someone's ultimately going to develop here.
Well,
What we have to do is rely on the knowledge we have that R3 says it can be up to this. R2 says it can be up to this. And whatever those up tos could be is what we could see delivered on the property.
but if we left it at R2, we can guarantee it.
No.
We can guarantee it will not be multifamily.
Right.
Mr. Gallo, I think one of the examples that could be used is you may be able to get 120 single-family homes on this site, but you couldn't physically do that. You may be able to get 60 duplexes on this site and still have 120 units, but may not physically be able to do that. I think with the three, I think the reality is to get to the full amount of units based on the clustering of things of the apartments would be easier to get to the maximum density with R3 than it would be with the underlying R2.
But Carl, the reality is that 27th Street is one of the least safest road to drive on in that part of town. It's impacted tremendously by traffic. We hear people just about at every council meeting complaining about that. And in reality, I think that should be our primary goal, is to be sure that we don't permit something to be built that's going to impact that road more, because it can't stand anymore.
Well-
That's the problem that we have had for years, is we approve a development, but yet, especially that road, we can't do anything about it. And I can guarantee you that the county is not going to invest any money, nor do I think they can widen 27th Street because of the way the present homes are built.
Right. I'm just wanting to make sure that the underlying understanding is that it would be potentially incrementally more residents, because they're entitled to have developed the site, period.
I understand that.
So it would be the incremental difference that potentially could happen through the ease of working under R3 as opposed to working under R2. That incrementally, instead of maybe 70 single-family homes, because if you look right behind that site that we approved, the smaller site had 20 single-family homes on it. So potentially, you say 60 single-family homes. Yes, that would be less than 120 or 130. Duplexes, if you're putting single-family homes, you could probably put a similar number of duplexes as you could single-family homes, which could multiply that times 2, because they're 2 duplexes, and that, so you could get up to that number. It may not be a desirable complex, and it may not be desirable for the investors, but it could be done. And I'm just saying that with that, the only thing we can really worry about here is potentially by changing it to R3, there's an incremental difference that may be easier to get to. It's that change between what you could get with R2 potentially to get with R3 because of the ease of development or the clustering of the potential units into buildings of 4 that are 3 or 4 stories high versus everything having to be on the ground.
Well, I think it's a strong issue that the infrastructure presently cannot support more increase in traffic. And it's an infrastructure that we can't control. And I think we have to be aware of that. Thank you.
Mr. Rawl.
Thank you. First, it says 2 parcels there. Why are they separated? It's just
They're 2 separate tax parcels.
okay.
They'll become.
And has this current owner, I got an articles of organization, Have they owned this property since 2005?
I don't know that. The applicant may be able to address that.
I mean, so, okay, because it looks like that's kind of where we're starting. And has this ever come before us before for any type of,
My longevity here is only about 3 years, 2.5 years, 3 years, so I'm not sure. It may have come before you before.
okay. And,
You did see the adjoining community a couple of years ago.
I remember that one. So, and I noticed on the sheet, cover sheet that we've got, and then also on page 3 of the description of what we're going to do, it says here twice that it will, however, expand, the proposed rezoning from R2 to R3 will not change the allocation of units. It would, however, expand the variety of housing. But it says here a couple of times that it says it will not increase the density. And then I'm looking at the projections from the school board, and the difference is there's 17 more elementary students, 9 more middle students, and 3 more high school, total of 29 more students. So somewhere along the line, the word density does not translate to people. How does that work?
Well, the school calculation is based on going from nothing to delivering these units. So that's a calculation that they arrive at
Yeah,
if
no,
the
I'm
property's
talking about
developed.
the increases between R2 and R3.
I believe the school report showed a reduction in school children generation. I believe their formula demonstrates multifamily has a smaller child generation rate than.
It's saying it's less?
Yeah, I believe so. So that's about student generation rate. So I guess there are trends in, you know, how many kids a household has in different types of housing.
So this is actually saying there's less students.
Correct. My assumption would be multifamily housing has younger and perhaps older households that aren't producing children at the same rate, and that might explain that. One of those interesting phenomenons of statistics.
Okay. Well, that was, all right, so I guess what I'd like to know is, because I know we've talked about so much stuff over in that area that, and I've been here since 2006, I'd like to know whether we previously discussed this property and we're reanalyzing it now to increase the R2 to R3. I guess you don't have that, maybe the applicant does.
They may. I would imagine they do.
Okay.
I had one more question, Ms. McCray, I forgot to ask you. In looking at the application, there's talk about neighborhood amenities, and they say wetlands, retention areas, and other unique sites designed as amenities. From the pictures that I'm getting, are there wetlands on this site?
I'm not aware that there are any wetlands. I don't know that a jurisdictional wetland survey has been done. That would be required at the time of permitting through the Water Management District.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll remain available for questions, of course.
Any other questions of Marshall? Marshall, thank you. Let's open the public hearing. There's several people signed up. Remember, it's 3-minute time limit, please. First,
Mayor, how about the applicant first?
I have that on top.
Okay, sorry.
Rachel Lawton. Layton, sorry. It's been a while since I've seen you.
I know, I haven't been in front of council in a while. I have not been sworn yet today, so I know this is quasi-judicial proceedings. Do we want to swear everybody in?
Matter of fact, Mr. Mayor, you might want to ask anyone that's going to speak that they would stand and do this at this time.
Anyone who's intending to speak during the public hearing today, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that factual statements and factual representations you are about to present to this council will be truthful and accurate?
Thank you. I'm going to bring up I have a PowerPoint presentation today. But good morning, Mayor Poston and Council. Marshall did a great job explaining and giving a presentation, and as indicated, we are here today for a rezoning application. And again, I'm Rachel Layton. I'm a certified planner with ZNS Engineering, and I have now been sworn. I'm here on behalf of the property owner, Gulf Village LLC, and the contract purchaser, Southport Financial Services. And here today with me, I have Matt Lipoff with Southport and Nathan Crott with ZNS Engineering. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, that's working. So we appreciate the opportunity to come before you this morning. I don't have history on this site myself. I did check. Ownership has been with Gulf Village LLC since 2005 and 2006 for the two different parcels. And as far as we know right now, there have been no wetlands identified on the site to date. And I'll work in traffic discussion as I move through the presentation. The property is at the southeast corner of 11th Avenue East and 27th Street East. Nearby is River Run Estates to the east, River Trace and River Preserve Apartments to the south, along with River Run Golf Links and Pirate City, and to the west is the Dream Center, Florida National Guard Armory, and Norma Lloyd Park. The surrounding area has an established development pattern revealing a variety of housing products, including single-family, duplex, and multifamily. So the request is to rezone the vacant property, formerly a driving range, located at 1201 27th Street East, which is two parcels of land totaling 12.04 acres of land, from R2, two-family residential, to R3, multifamily residential. The request is consistent with the future land use designation of medium-density residential. So you see here, this is the future land use map, and the property is within the City of Bradenton's residential medium density future land use category, which permits density up to 12 units per acre. And the golf course and the Park Armory Dream Center are within the ROS future land use category. The area does transition between city and county properties. Parcels shown on this map outside of the city boundary are within the county's residential 6 future land use category. And their affordable housing, workforce housing density bonus would allow 12 dwelling units per acre if they zoned with an affordable housing category. The property is currently zoned R2 with R3 to the southeast of the development, the property. T4R is located to the west, so you see all of the T4R in purple, and that's immediately to the west of this site. And R2 to the north. I'd like to point out that the two multifamily developments that were referenced earlier, River Trace and River Preserve, are within the R2 zoning district and the residential medium future land use category. And as Marshall told you earlier, those previously were approved through a PDP process. The R3 permitted uses include single-family, two-family, multifamily, residential, garage accessory units, and home occupations. The change in zoning does not increase the density allowed in the future land use category, but expands the variety of housing types to include multifamily, allows for smaller lot sizes, which is what you saw in River Run Estates, and increases the lot coverage by 10%, which includes the buildable area, internal drives, parking, and potential amenity center. So I did a comparison chart for the zoning districts that are there because I felt like it was very telling. Have done infill development projects in the city of Bradenton before where we've utilized the form-based code. And that form-based code, the TR4, does allow for multifamily, allows for 3.5 stories with that includes a LEED certification to go from 2.5 stories to 3.5 stories. The lot coverage in T4R is the same as R3 at 70%. However, with the T4R and the form-based code, you would have a building that would be set up closer to the street with a much larger building presence. And the parking requirement is reduced in half. So I really wanted to kind of talk about how all of these kind of play together because it is a gradual transition in this area of product and what can be developed. So if these parcels were assembled, you could see a project that would have much more building mass on it than what could be proposed in the traditional R3. So these this slide compares whether or not multifamily is permitted. So R2 does not permit it unless you have a PDP overlay. R3 does permit, T4R permits, and the maximum height changes from 35 to 45, and then to 3.5 stories as a maximum. And lot coverage is relatively the same. R2 is 60%, R3 is 70%, and T4R is also 70%. But with the R2 and the R3, you have the same front yard setback, and you have no building frontage requirement, and you're required 2 parking spaces per unit. So I felt like it was important to share that information with the council, because it is very similar to what would be allowed across the street on the west side if assemblage and redevelopment was pursued. So I'm going to go back to the zoning map, and I did want to mention that following the Planning Commission hearing, we did host a neighborhood meeting. We utilized Microsoft Teams because with COVID, it's really kind of hard for us to put together and invite a large group of people and practice social distancing. We had scheduled and then canceled an on-site meeting because we noticed that during the time that we had scheduled that, the numbers of COVID were just increasing dramatically, and we didn't want to put people at risk. But I felt that the Microsoft Teams call that we probably had 12 or 15 residents attending with us, and we actually, I felt, had one of the better dialogues with those representatives. And we did present many of the graphics that are shown here today, but we did also show them what we, if this moves forward, what we would want to present to them. But because this is straight rezoning, I don't want to present those documents today. But we did present them with a concept plan, representative building elevations, and floor plans for a multifamily project. So these attendees had an opportunity to ask questions about the project and share their concerns, and many of the concerns were related to the site access that was shown on the concept plan, traffic impacts to the existing street network, and hurricane evacuation routes. Because we offered to show them the concept plan, one of the things that we were able to talk about was how can we increase the buffers along 27th Street East so that we're making it more compatible with the units that are existing on 27th Street East by pushing the development to the east a little bit more. And another item that came up many times during the conversation was adding an additional access point from what was proposed on the concept plan. And not installing a connection to River Run Estates. So I want to acknowledge that there were 2 opposing points of view from the residents regarding access points onto 11th Avenue. And so during that meeting, what we did was we committed to hosting another meeting if the project moves forward today, that once we have a traffic study prepared and we get the results of the traffic study for what we would need to do with Manatee County, whether it be turn lanes or additional access points so that we can help improve the traffic situation for this project as much as possible, that we would then schedule another neighborhood meeting so that we can talk about those design issues again before we submit any applications to the city of Bradenton. I felt like we had a good dialogue with everyone. So I did pull some transportation numbers, and these are all kind of generic, but I wanted to be able to try and answer your question, Councilman Gallo. If we could develop the 12 acres for single-family detached, and we could develop 100 units on there, the PM peak hour trip, according to the Institute of Transportation Engineers, is about 1 trip per household. And so that would generate 100 single-family trips. But for multifamily, that same number is 0.67 based on the ITE. So if I had 144 units of multifamily, then I would only have 96 PM peak hour trips. So, and that's based on the ITE information that we collected while we were trying to prepare to answer that question this morning. So I do want to continue on and let you know that public water and sewer lines are available for connection at the developer's expense. There's an MCAT bus stop, Route 4, which is located at the southeast corner of 11th Avenue and 27th Street East, adjacent to the property. And the area is transitioning from single-family and two-family, semi-detached to multifamily to the south of the site. And the request is a logical expansion of the R3 zoning district to the east and the multifamily projects to the south. Future development of the site will have to meet all land use regulations as well as any other R3 zoning requirements. We would need to secure any permits from Manatee County for access to be able to utilize 27th Street, and we would need Southwest Florida Water Management District permits for drainage. The property To the west of the site is in the form-based code district of T4R, and as I mentioned earlier, it allows for the same use, density, lot coverage, and a similar height as R3. The zoning map amendment provides an appropriate transition between the proposed R3, existing R2 and 3, and T4R at the southeast, the R3 at the southeast corner of the same block, and the multifamily developments in the medium-density residential future land use categories in the area. And as Marshall mentioned earlier, there is no change in density, it's just the delivery of the product that would be available, and it would then allow for multifamily. And the request is consistent with the future land use map and the comprehensive plan for the city of Bradenton. The staff and planning commission recommended approval of the zoning request, and we respectfully request the city council approve the zoning map amendment, and we appreciate the opportunity to present, and we do have our team here available to answer any additional questions that you may have.
Any
Thank
questions of Ms. Layton?
Mr. Mayor.
Patrick?
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure these numbers out still. First off, this photograph, this is 11th. It shows where your sign was for the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that road's definitely too small. So that's county road or city?
I don't know if 11th is city or county.
City?
City. So we would also need City of Bradenton public use, right-of-way use permits.
Okay, well, that, so your numbers, because I'm looking at these, I thought the numbers were going the other way. So with R3, we have less students, but by 29, according to the calculations from the school board. And you're saying there's less trips generated if we went down to R3, from
Correct.
100 to 96.
Correct, for the delivery of multifamily units. It's,
How does that work? Are they older people, or what's the calculation there?
I just used the book. I'm not the,
Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't bring a traffic engineer
All right.
today.
Well, I know from when my daughter finally grew up and went to college, our amount of trips out of our house decreased quite a bit. So I guess I could see that calculation there if we're talking about, the difference of people not, having a family or not having, either being a young couple or an older couple, that could definitely generate less traffic. So, and I still like to hear if I discussed this somewhere along the line since 2006. I mean, I see the article here where you said, you just verified that they've owned this since 2005.
Yes.
And I know that we've talked about most of the properties on that thing have come before us, especially when we had the big building boom in 2006, 2007, 2008, that I'd like to hear if we discussed this before.
I don't know if it was discussed by council previously. We would need to do a records request with the City of Bradenton.
The owners wouldn't know? They've come before us before?
We don't know. I'm sorry. I have Matt Lipoff here with Southport, but not the property owner.
Right.
You have any recollection of that, Ms. Callahan?
I don't recall that, because my guess is back in the day, even if we had, it probably would have come forward in the form of a PDP, most likely, because that's the way we did things, 15 years ago. A lot of things
Right.
came in PDP so that they could get their special approval that way and get exactly what they wanted. There's been a lot of discussion about the site between ALFs, multifamily, tax credits, a lot of those things, but nothing's come forward that I recall directly on the site. Because we even looked at it from the city of Bradenton as looking at maybe trying to acquire it years ago to keep the use as a driving range to work in concert with River Run.
Yeah. Mr. Gallo?
I think Patrick got the question answered that I was going to ask. I'm still trying to figure out how it makes sense based on the fact that you're going to have more people living in a development with R3, but less people are going to drive out on the road. And I know it's in your textbooks what you're saying, but trying to use common sense, which I think I have, doesn't make sense. Whether you have kids or not kids living there, you still have people living in each one of those units. So there's got to be more people driving on the road, and that concerns me. Thank you.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes, I guess one of my concerns in looking at the differences between R2 and R3, and I made a couple of notes, and that's why I asked the question earlier with staff as far as the heights. And I did note that one of the things is that if we change to R3, we expand to where you can have multifamily units on the property. And secondly, and it's only, I know, if we do anything today on this, you're not bound to the type of housing. But it sort of concerns me that we will be expanding the type of housing that's going to be, that you can build there. And that's why I asked that question earlier about the number of stories, because I grew up, near that area, and you have right there, you have single-family homes right along 11th Avenue, and across the street on 27th Street East, and to think that even though you have some multifamily a little bit, to the south of that, you're really going right up against that single-family home. So, I know right now it says if we go forward with this, you can do it. And just out of curiosity, what would be the plans? Going up 3 stories, or?
It is likely that it would be, an application would be submitted next year for a site improvement permit for a 3-story garden apartment complex. But those, if it went forward as that, and it's hard to say that in a straight rezoning hearing. So I want to try to explain that with the R3, if you had a multifamily that was designed for that site, you would really have to use a great buffer to be able to make sure that that fits in appropriately with that neighborhood that's existing. And that's one of the things that we were able to show the neighbors, is that we had proposed a buffer and then parking so that the buildings could be set back almost 100 feet from the property line. And then as we went into further discussions, we were trying to figure out how we could push the buildings back even further so that they're looking at the vegetation and maybe the parking instead of looking directly at the buildings, or that the buildings are looking down into their homes. So there are many ways that the Land Development Code can help the staff design the site in a way that it has less impact on the neighbors.
I understand. If we were at that point right now, I would definitely be one of the ones, if it was already R3, to say as far away from, the single-family homes and have some kind of a buffer there. We're not there, yet. But the question in my mind is that, do we, allow this to go forward where there's some possibilities that it may not be compatible with that those single-family homes that are right there on the west side and the north side. So, no other. Go ahead.
I understand your concern, and I appreciate it. But one of the things that the comprehensive plan indicates is that there's a need for a variety of housing stock. And so typically as a planner, I look at residential to residential as compatible uses, because you need to have that variety of housing stock so that you can keep, some of it is just making sure that we have generational housing so that folks, if they choose to stay in the neighborhood that they grew up in, that they have other alternatives other than single-family home ownership.
And Mr. Byrd, we are at that point today because this doesn't come back to the council. It is administrative.
Yeah, I was just commenting on what she said is that, a year down the road, they can pull back and do the barriers. And, and I was commenting on what she said. But right now, we have to, in the public hearing, make a decision as to whether we want to change this zoning or not today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Barnaby.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Layton, are there wetlands on this site?
We have not done a preliminary environmental wetlands due diligence with a consultant, but we did check the maps, and there was no indication from any of the GIS maps that we have access to that there is any wetlands on site.
Okay. Well, this is where serving in a quasi-judicial setting is, I was going to say a blessing and a curse, but I pretty much think it's a curse. Because we have residents that have seen proposals of what may go on the site, and we can't see them. And as I said before, I think this is the council's one bite at the apple, which makes it very difficult. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else who wishes to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone in favor? Anyone in favor? So we'll move to opposition of this ordinance. I have several people signed up. Remember, it's 3 minutes. Thomas Thanis.
Good morning, Your Honor, members of the City Council. My name is Tom Thanis. I'm with the Dye Harrison Law Firm here in downtown Bradenton. I think I've heard many of you make the same comments that I wanted to make to you, so you're a couple of steps ahead of us and the neighbors. I represent the residents of the Tropical Shores neighborhood. Many are here, many are not because of work obligations and COVID restrictions. Our opposition to Ordinance 3059 is based on what you've commented on. Two things. We've got 27th Street, which I understand you don't have control over, but we all know it's a racetrack and it's very narrow. You've got sidewalks that are right up against the curb. There is no room there for any more expansion. And I know the county has not stepped up to do its job to take care of that problem. The second is the incompatibility of dropping 6 3-story apartment buildings in the middle of a single-family neighborhood. Our position is that 27th is a major north-south arterial. It's a hurricane evacuation route. It connects 70 and 64. Many people use it to go back and forth to get out to 75 and I-275. It's very few turn lanes on 75. Many of us use it, those of us who work in downtown Bradenton frequently take Martin Luther King, when we're headed out to the east side, take that and then turn left on 27th. And when that's backed up because of the no right on red turn lane on 27th and 64, we cut through the neighborhood so we can get over to the boat dock to kind of sneak on 64 that way. Not good. I've learned from people I represent I shouldn't be doing that. I also like to indicate it's a major school bus route. A lot of kids jump on the school bus there. And the biggest problem we have is we're going to introduce what could be 144 units on this property, 285 parking spaces, a lot of new cars, whether it's, and I heard the theory, but I think some of you are a little suspect of the theory that it'll generate fewer trips. The other thing I'd like to address is the incompatible zoning, the height of the buildings. There are no 3-story buildings in this neighborhood at all. I drove around Thursday night, I drove around this morning, and you don't see a 3-story building until you come closer to downtown Bradenton. I think you're changing the character of the neighborhood, and it's something that I wouldn't want to be in a position of doing that. If you, and again, I agree with Councilwoman Barnaby, you are at a disadvantage. I think what you need to do is make the developer come back and put his cards on the table, show you what we've seen, and it's something you're going to see a perimeter of parking, and then you're going to see 6 big buildings in the middle of this. I have to tell you, my background, I was the city manager of Joliet, Illinois for 6 years. Before that, I was a city attorney for 18 years. And we ran into this because Joliet, town of 150,000 people, much like Bradenton, blue-collar city, beautiful downtown, a lot of challenges on the finances, though. Mayor, I'll wrap up in 30 seconds. And my perspective is, make the developer come in and show you the plans and give you an idea of what's going to be there. You're zoning in the dark right now, and that's not something that I would want to be in that position if I were the city manager. I was also a circuit judge in Illinois, and I can spot a bad case, and this is a bad case. And I understand this may be a good investment for the owner of the property, who can sell it to a developer, and it might be a good investment for the financier, but it's a bad investment for the city of Bradenton. On behalf of the residents of Tropical Shores, I encourage you to vote no on this ordinance.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Thanis. I gave you extra time because you're representing a group. So
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I also do have 110 or so signatures from families on a petition opposing this. I'd like to present it to your city clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Barbara Parsons?
I'm going to forego between what Mr. Thanis said and what council has asked and had answered. It covered everything that I was going to say.
Great.
So I'll just say I'm opposed, and they said it all for me.
Good. Thank you very much. Dean Jorgensen, also Tropical Shores.
My name is Dean Jorgensen. I live at 1107 32nd Street, Court East, Tropical Drive. I was going to talk about 20 years ago when Mr. Thompson represented us here before you for another developer that wanted to rezone in our neighborhood. Those became single-family homes. At that time, he argued that 27th Street East was not suitable for the increase in the traffic load then. So certainly 20 years later, it still isn't, because they have made no improvements. But what I wanted to point out to you, rather than talking about 27th Street East, because we all know about it, okay? The red line there, that's the 27th Street East bypass. That's the route people are taking now at rush hour, in the morning and at night. They're cutting through our neighborhood. We got school bus stops there. We've got kids standing there, and people, they're not doing the speed limit, obviously. They're trying to make time. And so they're flying through the neighborhood, and they're jeopardizing the people that live there. So until something is done about 27th Street East, and I get it, it's a county road, but until something is done about that, there shouldn't be any approval of any projects there. They should just leave it the way it is. That's all I've got.
Mr. Mayor? I wanted to let Mr. Jorgensen know that I did receive an email from you,
Yes.
and I'll make certain that it's put in the public record.
Thank you, thank you.
Susie Copeland?
Good morning, Mayor, City Council. I will tell you, we moved in our property in 1985. This is now the second time that a proposed project has come before the City Council for the zoning change for that particular piece of property. City Council denied it many years ago. Mary Ann Barnaby was still serving as the City Councilman at that time. In the report, staff report, they mentioned that the property surrounding the property of the project, not once did they indicate that the property directly to the west of it, to the north of it, and to the east of it are all single-family homes. Now, when you look at the south, River Trace was built. There's one house, single-family home, that's in front of River Trace when it was built. There are no homes in front of the River Preserve. It's adjacent to the golf course. So that is not true. And those properties on the west, the north, and the east are directly impacted by this zoning change. It says this project is not compatible with the property directly west. We're all single-family homes. It does not have the public interest. It does not promote our health, safety, and welfare of the residents. How safe, how healthy is it for us to take 30 minutes to exit from our driveways, especially during peak hours? My husband and I was still working for the city of Bradenton, we had to install a circular drive because it was difficult for him to get out on 27th and for me to get out on 27th. And I retired in 2006. So you see, the problem was even before then, and it has increased because of the additional properties 26 and 27, that 300-plus development that City Council approved, we're being impacted by that. You've got River Preserve that has been built since we moved there, and of course, River Trace. While the property may have the utilities and some of the infrastructure, the impact of a building up to 3-story buildings with over 300 parking spaces, staff did not actually take into consideration the flooding, the increase of traffic, by allowing the project, the egress and the ingress onto 27th Street East. I'm not a scientist, but I know when you build more homes, there's going to be more traffic. And we have to identify and accept that. And if you build 3-story buildings or 2-story buildings, that is going to increase the number of units that are there. I am opposed to it. It's not compatible. And as property owners on 27th, we just need some relief. We've experienced it over the years. It has constantly increased. And we're asking City Council to please not approve this project because it is not compatible with us single-family residents. And I have a page of 26 signatures opposing this.
Mr. Mayor?
Thank you, Ms. Copeland. Mr. Rolfe?
Yeah, I got it. Susie, I've asked this question several times, and you seem to be someone that knows. So this particular property asked for a zoning change?
Yes, sir.
Do you know what year that was approximately?
I really don't. I was probably
Approximately?
still working. It was probably before 2006. I do remember we went out in our neighborhood and got our petitions again and brought it before this council many years ago. I just don't remember the year.
You think it would have been before October 17, 2005?
Okay. There's someone who can give you the year. I don't remember the year. I know I was just still working at the time, so it was pre-2006.
Okay.
Thank you.
Eddie Copeland?
Good morning, Councilman, Mayor, Councilwoman. My name is Eddie Copeland, and I live on 27th Street East. I guess I don't have to lean down that far, I'll bring that up. 27th, I'm at 909 27th Street East, Bradenton. I'm about 3 houses south of the stop sign at Martin Luther King, the 4-way stop sign at Martin Luther King and 27th Street East. And if you try to make a left turn out of my driveway, I live on the east side of 27th Street East. You try to make a left turn, it's like traffic, when it builds up, if you look right, there's traffic that's there blocked. You can't see the traffic coming from the north. Okay, and it's not really much time for them to stop once they start going because they're trying to get on across. Okay, I have to actually sit there and wait, and when somebody do allow me to get out coming from the south going north, ease out in a little bit and just make sure traffic is not gonna slam into me. Okay, because it's really dangerous as it is now. That street has been really marred with traffic forever. It's really dangerous. It's just crazy. When people trying to get where they're going, want to go, I guess they're trying to get where they want to go. I oppose this rezoning up from R2 to R3 because it's just going to increase it even more. I have a drain right there by my house also, and I have to clean it out all the time because the water just drains right downhill to that area and kind of floods out. And then I guess you know that road, when it really rains, it floods anyway. So it just increases the hazards as even more. And I'd like to say again, I oppose the rezoning from R2 to R3. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. You know, I know different streets to get around the little areas kind of, but even that's difficult for me.
Any question, Mr. Copeland? Just an aside, Mr. Copeland has a commercial transportation license, and so he drives a lot.
Limos.
Yeah, limo.
Thank you.
Thank you. Deborah Stevenson?
morning, Council and Mayor. I live on 27th Street East, and I'm in opposition to this. And as Ms. Copeland has indicated, this did come to us once before. I don't remember the year, and we had to come out here and do the same thing in opposition to it. Now, the thing about it is the developer, whoever is trying to use this property, knew what the zoning was when he purchased it. So they should not have had any expectation that it was going to change. So if it was zoned R2, that's what they should be expecting to build on. And to say to increase density on something or to increase the height of something from a 2-story to 3-story is not going to increase density, does not make sense. And I hope my grandchild who's listening will know that it doesn't make sense. That's just saying I'm a building, but they're not gonna come. So it's unreasonable. I don't know. You don't have to have a real educated person to indicate that if you put space somewhere, somebody's going to fill it. And why would you want to build a three-story if you don't think you're going to fill it up? And the thing about the R2 to R3, when they were here the last time, they brought the mock-up for the R2, but the thing about it is they don't really want an R2, they want an R3. And the thing about it, if you zoned it to R3, they don't have to come back to you. Someone asked that question at the Planning Council, which I attended, and said, well, if you change it, do you have to come back? Oh, no, we don't have to come back. That's the whole purpose. So you're trying to hide what your real ideas and your plans are from us and from the board or whatever, by saying, well, we just wanted R2 just in case we want to do something. But if you change it to R3, they don't have to come ask for permission. So they have the ability to do what they want to do based on that designation. And that's unfair to us, and then to say that it's going to be less traveling. A lot of older people might not have their own children, but they might have grandchildren. You can't tell someone who can live in their home, and to say that it's going to be less people coming in and out does not make sense. And it's just unreasonable, And then 27th Street, it's busy during the day and it's a drag strip at night. Yeah, and then 13th Ave too. They drag on 13th Ave. And I can hear cars racing, motorcycle. I know somebody has a motorcycle. They must work late because at 12 o'clock every night I hear a motorcycle speeding down 27th.
You must live in my neighborhood.
No, you hear it too. And so they speed, and then the traffic, the roundabout at the end of 27, everyone is using that as a pass-through. So it's already dangerous, but I know that's not the road, doesn't have anything to do with the city. But it doesn't make sense, or common sense or logical sense for someone to want to change zoning and don't think density is going to increase and make it unsafe for our children and for us and uncomfortable and does not go along with what we have as a single family. If they know it was single family, they should be planning to do R2 building and not trying to change it. They know what it was. It's been that way for how many years? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Stevens. Is it Mark Bott? Yeah.
Good morning. My name is Mark Botts. I'm agent for River Run Estates, LLC. We are the single-family development that abuts to the east of the property in question today. We're in a bit of a quandary here because as a developer, I do believe that the correct zoning for this piece of property in today's market is R3. However, the proposed site plan that we saw of 144 units with 3-story buildings, my personal opinion is I don't believe that is compatible to the neighborhood. River Trace and River Preserve are both very close by. Both are multifamily. Both are 2 stories in height. Yes, you can go up to 45 feet in height with a 3-story building. But it becomes a matter of math We were very interested in this property. We know the history of the property. We also know the price they were asking for the property. Without X number of units, the numbers just don't make sense. It's the math equation that isn't working here. That's what's driving the 6 buildings of 24 units in 3 stories in height. If the council wants to take a look at what an example of this building would be, I suggest they go up to Parish Oaks, US 301 in Oxford in Parish. South Point has done a project there, and you can physically see what the concept might be. As a developer, I am concerned, though, of what I've heard today regarding 27th Street. Decisions made for development along that corridor because of 27th Street, what the city has no control of, they've already stated, that goes over to Manatee County. I'm concerned, does that then put a moratorium on all development along the 27th Street corridor? I don't know. I think you're starting to infringe on some property right issues then. So that is concerning to me. One of the things that may be a possibility, when we went through a rezone, which we did, we went from R2 to R3 on River Run Estates. But one of the things we agreed to do is we agreed, because we had talked with the neighborhood, we had agreed to do single-family housing. The reason we went through our rezone is it allowed us to drop from 6,500 square foot lots down to 5,000 square foot lots. And we have a very successful development in there. So R3 does not automatically mean you go 3 stories in height. The site plan is what we have an issue with, not so much the rezone. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Platt. Josh Perkins?
Good morning. I'm Josh Perkins. Everybody's pretty much covered everything. I live off 11th Avenue, but I like the way Mr. Potts just said that. He's correct. Everything in the R3 zone, it sounds like they're up to 3 stories. He really did a single-family home, and they're nice in there, and they're working out. I'm more or less here because I have a middle schooler, and the bus stops are crazy. They're right on the edge of the road. It's unsafe. There's no sidewalks, so they either get yelled at if they walk in the yards or they walk on the road where everybody's hauling tail and cutting through. We had a video last year or when they're putting in the R3 zone. We showed you guys. We sent it to you. It's very unsafe for all the kids. Of course, he has friends. Excuse me. Of course, he has friends that come over and they talk about it all the time. So they're either yelled at for being in someone's yard or they're dodging cars in the road because at the time of the morning, that's rush hour. The time of the afternoon when they get off, that's rush hour. So I'm more or less here for the safety of the kids for the school buses. So, thank you very much.
Thank you. Beverly Woody?
Good morning, Mayor and council, men and women. I am here on behalf of my mother-in-law who lives in the 900 block of 27th Street, and she's lived there for 50 years. Just like Ms. Copeland, my mother-in-law had to incur the cost of putting in a circular driveway, thinking she would get better access to her property. It was like throwing good money to the wind because it didn't work. So she has to pull in the circular driveway back into her property so that her car faces 27th Street. And it can take up to 30 minutes to exit or enter her property. You have to be at the mercy of a kind motorist. She lives one house away from 9th Avenue, where there's been multiple car accidents, the latest being a fatality. She was in her house and she heard a young girl crying whose mother had passed away in a car accident. And the remedy for that accident was somebody, I don't know if it was the city or the county, bought a portable caution sign there. And it's about a block, or half a block away from the intersection of 9th and 27th. Also, personally, if I didn't have to visit my mother-in-law, I try to, at all costs, avoid 27th Street. I was stuck in traffic one day at 26 Ave by Mixon, and it took 3 cycles of the stoplight for me to be able to get onto 27th Street. Bumper to bumper traffic all the way to 9th and 27th. The traffic is always horrible. It floods. It's a very distressed area. There's not been any attention paid to 27th Street in many, many years. I know in the area where Ms. Copeland lives, those houses were built in 1980, and there's been no improvements on that street of any kind. And my mother-in-law is vehemently opposed to any zone changing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Woody. Appreciate it. James Stokes? Nine 28th Street East? He had to leave? All right, sorry. Arturo Santos Jr.? Arturo Santos Jr.? Ready? Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. Arturo Santos Jr., 3106 Pine Street, Bradenton, Florida. Esteemed council members and esteemed mayor, I just wanted to echo what everyone else has said about the traffic concerns in that area. I live on Pine Street, so we see a lot of traffic that comes off of 27th and then cuts through our neighborhood. And I'm just wanting you guys to consider the fact that if we already have traffic concerns on 27th, as well as folks that drive through 11th and cut through the neighborhood to get to the boat ramp, imagine adding more, residents to that and creating more of a bottleneck and stuff for all the other reasons. So I just want to echo what everyone else has said, that I oppose this measure and would encourage you to vote no as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And that's everybody I have signed up. Anybody else who is in opposition that would like to speak? Come forward. Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, my name is Minister Arthur Huggins. I live at 1011 27th Street Court East of Bradenton, Florida. I do say good morning to each and every one of you, and do thank you for allowing me to be able to stand today and speak with you. I'm on repeat as well with the conditions that are actually happening in that residence. We've been living there this year 50 years in that particular residence, so we've seen a lot come and a lot go. We do realize it's inevitable when it comes to the building process that happens in Bradenton. It's hard to get around. People are coming to Bradenton for what I think for good reasoning. I think what we really need to consider and use wisdom is that not only with that traffic, what has been happening down, we've watched it grow through the years, is the amount of deaths that's actually starting to take place and injuries at off of 27th Street and 9th in particular. It is a distressed area. Just this year, we lost a resident. It was a pastor's wife because of someone racing down the road, plowed into the side of them and killed her. That was a very sad moment. And it's something everybody in that residence dread from time to time across 27th Street. We see all the close and the near close accident that barely escapes because, people are trying to escape 64 for whatever reason and come through 27th and trying to find a different route. I just say, and I plead with you all, that you would take in consideration what has been spoken here today, and that we would use some kind of discernment and discretion moving forward, and I do thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make, I guess, a comment. A lot of individuals made mention of the transportation in the county running 27th. In speaking with our Public Works Director, the lights were put up on the portion of MLK that the city has, and I'd like to say we need to advocate some kind of, I guess, a statement to the county to do likewise, because that is sort of a cut through to the point where we can have a better control over the traffic and everything that goes on at that particular intersection. So while everybody's here, I wanted to make that yeah, it's county, the county maintains that road 27th, and let's try to advocate some type of position to make things a little bit better. Thank you.
Mr. McClellan, I'll co-sign that letter to the county with you.
Mr. Mayor, Jim had pulled up some additional information on what had been there before, and I think in 2006 he indicated that there had been a PDP proposal through ordinance that had been approved in 2006 on a development called, what, Forest Glen, was it, Jim? Which would have probably predated River Trace being done, would have predated the villages at Glen Creek, would have predated even the one on the west side of 27th as far as developments that were happening in that area. So it would have probably been the first of its kind, which would have been a lot different scenario than being the last of its kind coming through. So.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to ask Jim McClellan and Mr. Roth, is this something we should be discussing with the county, and can we discuss it with possibly MPO? Would MPO have any, which I know it's a long-term thing, but would, Mr. Roth, would MPO have any involvement in straightening out, because this is becoming a big traffic issue, was connecting to 44 and other developments. There's several developments we haven't even mentioned today, right around the corner, that's going to actually exacerbate that whole area. Would MPO get involved in this or not? Is that a crazy idea?
Well,
Marianne says no. Marianne used to be on the MPO board, and Mr. Mayor, before we get off track somewhere, I think we need to reassign one of those two back to the MPO board, because we only have one on there, which is me right now. And I know it's zoomed, and Marianne says I'll do it or whatever.
No, it's
The letter.
Oh, you already did it?
The
Oh,
letter
okay.
was sent on July 20th.
Sorry, I didn't know that, but because we've been having Zoom meetings, and so good deal. So back to the question: would MPO get involved in this, or is it the county? Or both?
It could possibly, as a regional artery, get through the MPO, but I tell you, it would move much quicker to go straight to the county.
Straight to the county. Okay.
But I agree with you, Mr. Sanders. The more noise we make about this, the more opportunity there might be for getting something done.
Right. I think we as a team have to put a little pressure on them to get something done, because this is really getting jammed up in there. And so if we can sign a letter to the county to get moving on this, because they're moving on 44th Avenue, and they've done that roundabout up there, and this area needs to have some priority attention. And Keenan Wooten is holding his hand up, and he's been in here almost every meeting for 6 months saying, get it done, and he just hasn't seen anything. He's frustrated, so am I, because I live in that close area. So I think we've got to make this a priority from a traffic standpoint. Otherwise, they can't develop this, or they can't develop it in any way good, and that's not fair to them, actually, but it's certainly not fair to the citizens to just jam more traffic in there. And we've always been guilty of that in our developments around the city and county.
Mr. Mayor.
Gallo first.
Oh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Sanders, I agree with you 100%. I have feelings about what the county's going to do and not going to do, and what they can't do. But I would like for you all to consider, if you're going to write a letter, that you throw in another disaster, which is 26th Street West, where the county four-lane the road from Cortez Road to the city limits, and all of a sudden it becomes 2-lane, and you talk about traffic, and you're looking at 3 traffic lights. So if they're going to do some kind of thinking about straightening up their roads that are inside the city limits, please put in 26th Street West with it.
Well, it's obviously, you can see when we become jagged in annexations that where we got county and city involved, it becomes an issue, obviously. You just mentioned another one, which I agree with you. And also on that same 27th Street, we've got a development down there that I get complaints about all the time because of that waterway going through there, and they claim that they've got a gated kind of community, and then it's not because they got 60 foot of four-wheelers coming through there, and Jim, you and I have talked about it. Where do you stand on that today? You was going to put up some kind of invisible water flow gate through there. What's that development? I know it's a different issue, but it's just like it keeps compounding with other issues along that 27th Street.
We're
Mr.
still
Mayor.
in a public hearing on this.
Okay,
Correct.
I'm sorry, we can address that later. Okay, we can.
Yeah, I think-
I know, because, like I said, this is just adding up, it's just piling up.
Just to finish up, Mr. Sanders, on
No, let
26,
me finish this up and then
pardon me?
we'll go to you. We're still on a public hearing, and I want the public to have their opportunity to speak. If we're done, when we're done with that, then we go to council.
Okay.
Okay. Anyone else in opposition to this thing? Mr. Wooten?
All right, 1915th, 11th Avenue East. Just a little history of this. Like Council Sanders just said, been fighting this fight for a long time, and I was the only one down here by myself. At that fatality there on 27th was Chela Gonzalez. She lost her life, and I'm dedicating a lot of things to her. And that kind of did something to me. So I've been coming down here forever. We did get I heard somebody say they saw that speed trap there, that speed light there. That was a result of coming down, and we thank Bradenton Police Department for doing that. We also we were able to get on MLK those flashing lights going east and west. Now, I've been personally in a battle with the county, so I talked to a guy, and they're going to put flashing lights out there. Now, we need more there, so that battle has been going on with the county, and I'm just so happy that now we have council on board. It took more people to come in with that, and the mayor to force or get the county moving on 27th Street. So that's a little bit of the history. It might be they were going to put some flashing lights out there a while back, and I kind of lost track with everything that was going on. So I did talk to a guy with the county, and they are working on that, but now we're going to have a little bit more teeth behind it. So I think we're moving in the right direction to get some change by the county. Now, they move a little slow, but with council and the mayor and other community people involved with this, maybe they can get moving a little bit further. But I did talk to someone from the county. We kind of got into it on the phone a little bit. It got hostile, but I wasn't backing down with that. So, but thank you for everything that you do.
We're still in the public hearing. Anyone else is in opposition to ordinance 3059? Anyone else? Anyone? Hearing none?
Mr. Mayor, I recommend that we provide rebuttal time both for staff and the
We
applicant.
do that inside the public hearing?
Yes.
All right.
Good morning again, Rachel Layton for the record. I want Nathan Crott, our civil engineer with ZNS Engineering, to talk a little bit about the traffic, and then I'll finish.
Okay.
Good morning, Nathan Crott with ZNS Engineering, and I have been sworn. So just a couple things to clarify. One is I think Rachel and Matt are trying to figure out some ways to think a little bit outside the box, how to keep this forward. Our client is really here in pursuit of the multifamily component that's associated with the R3. I've heard about building heights and I've heard about traffic, and those are the two things that folks feel like are either not compatible or intolerable traffic conditions. And so the building height is something that I think we can work with. It's the multifamily component that we're after, so I think Rachel will speak to that. As it relates to traffic, these ITE books, I know the number of units, the 144 units of multifamily equates to approximately 100 units of single family. there's a lot of folks that study this. They count the trips on the road, and they put it into manuals for everyone across the board to use. So these are not numbers that we're making up. These are things that have been studied, and they're here for us to try and present you with as factual data as what we can. So when we study this site and go before the county for construction plan approval, our traffic engineer will come to them. They will establish a methodology meeting, what they have to count, what roads. So we're hearing a lot of complaints about a lot of adjacent roadways. All of those will be counted, and then a study will be presented to the county, and all of the things that they are required to do will be outlined in the study. So they will be most likely be required to have a northbound right turn lane into the site, a southbound left turn lane into the site. There may be some proportionate share impacts that they have to, at State Road 64 and 27th. There may be things that we have to contribute to as far as dollars in addition to just our adjacent access points. One other thing to mention, you have 44th. That's designed, that's coming. And so you talk about 27th being the major corridor between Manatee Avenue and State Road 70, and 44th is coming. So that's a relief to this east-west corridor because folks aren't going to have to use it as much. So that's coming. I don't know exactly what the timing is on that. We will try and present that at our next available time, but I've seen the plans. I know it's coming. I know the dollars are there. I just don't know how long it's going to take them to build it, but please keep that in mind too, that's a relief coming to this area. So anyway, with that said, I'll turn it back over to Rachel.
So we have heard all of the concerns of the council and the citizens, and at this time we'd like to request a continuance so that we can work through some of these items and either bring forward a deed restriction to the property to limit it to 2 stories, or to come back with a plan development request and site plan for the council. So I would like to request that continuance to an October hearing if possible.
I was going to suggest such a thing, so thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
So that concludes my presentation for today. Thank you.
As we close the public hearing before we make it?
No, I would leave it open, and then if the council wants to consider that motion to continue with the public hearing still open.
All right.
Mr. Mayor, I guess right now we're already making I guess comments saying that we want to continue the public hearing without there being some kind of a council vote, and I just think that right now the best thing is probably to close the public hearing, and before we take a vote, we go from there. But I will say this: since we're at the end of the public hearing, I'm prepared today to make a motion to deny ordinance 3059, knowing that neighborhood incompatibility. We're looking at all kind of possibilities. So, that's just my comment, and it's on the record. But I am prepared to move forward with the motion to deny as Ward 5 councilman.
I agree with Mr. Burke.
Beth, how do we do this? You have to counsel me on this. We're still in a public hearing. We can go ahead and do this?
I think it's up to the council's discretion if we want to close the public hearing at this time. If the council decides to continue the meeting, then we could reopen the public hearing to take additional testimony. So up to the discretion of the council.
Mr. Mayor?
So do we have to make a motion before we close the hearing?
No, I think the hearing can be closed based on the comments.
Okay.
Excuse me.
You need the public hearing for what comments you're making?
Well, my question is, if this is continued, it's a continuation of this meeting.
Correct.
Mr. Rudisil or Mr. Callahan or Ms. Beauchamp, will we be required to re-advertise everything? If we close the meeting, and it's a completely different public hearing, do we have to re-advertise everything?
No, this will be, as long as we continue it to a date and time certain, it won't need to be re-advertised.
Which could save taxpayers how much money?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that.
Well,
It's
I mean-
a better question for staff.
When we advertise in newspapers, it costs money, correct? They're not free PSAs.
Well, those are minimal charges of
An
$300.
advertisement would probably be $200-300. That's
Right.
not including the staff time it would take to actually
Prepare
put
it
it all
and
together.
Right,
and
those are
report it.
minimal charges.
I know I have not been here, but I have never seen the council not consider continuing this at the request of an applicant. Is this project so egregious to everyone that you would not consider? Again, keep in mind, what I heard from Ms. Layton is, if we continue it and they continue to work on it, when they come back, they may be requesting a PDP. They may be able at that time to give us their plans, which, as one of the gentlemen said, right now, we're zoning in the dark because we're not allowed to see those plans yet.
What's the pleasure of the council? Mr. Gallo?
Are we still allowed to speak about what we're considering, or where are we?
There has not been a tabling motion.
Okay,
so-
I just have a question for our city attorney, because I think what we're looking at today is accepting a zone change. They've already got the right to build under Res 2, is that correct?
Yes, they have the R2 zoning currently.
So does this fall under the Burt Harris Act? I mean, we can't shut them down and say, you can't build there.
No, this wouldn't be a Harris
Okay.
Act issue.
Okay, we have approved R2. My feeling is they know that we don't, that more than likely R3 is not going to pass. And I'm unlike Ms. Barnaby, I think we need to continue it and give them an opportunity to come back with a plan, because they're going to build. We can't stop them from building. They've got that approval. We just want them to build where we're happy and the folks in the audience that live out there are happy. So let them come back with a plan. Just continue it.
Ralph, what do you think?
Yeah, well, my point is just what Mr. Gallo said, that they have a by right, they have the ability to build no matter what. And and I would like to see, you know, the site plans, what can come up with. Because if in fact, and I do know from the MPO that my involvement with this planning, that sometimes mysteriously traffic can be calmed in ways that don't make sense. But if R3 can actually produce less traffic, and traffic on 27th is a problem, and if anything's been discussed today or figured out today, 27th is probably our biggest immediate need to have something done over there. I know that we've heard about it for a while, but after hearing so many people make this claim, that I didn't know about the cut through going through there to hit the boat ramp. I mean, this is something needs to be done. People should be able to get out of their houses. That's something needs to be done, and that'll involve us with the county. And I'm not inclined to go, you know, for a higher zoning either. You know, unless it can be proved that there's a true benefit. But I do think I need more information than what I have right now to make either one of those judgments. But by saying no, they have the right to build X amount of homes right now, and that could be worse than the proper thing. Right? I don't know. I don't. Yeah, I understand.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just going to reply. If it was a different day and age, I could probably understand, but look how many people are out here. And so what we're saying is that we're going to continue this thing, and, you know, you're going to have to come right back, just like before the property came up once before. So, you know, for me, I am not in favor. We've heard all of in the public hearing, the comments and everything, and the R2, yes, they can build. They could build right now. And they're trying to change it to the R3. And from hearing all of that, and, you know, there have been times when, yes, I have been in favor of, but, everybody, we've got masks on. We're coming down here for something that could be decided right here, I still hold true. I'm just one councilman, but I say that, I'm prepared as we close this to go ahead and make the motion for denial. Thank you.
I agree with Mr. Byrd, because none of the traffic's going to get resolved in 2 months, so I agree with Mr. Byrd.
We are still in the public hearing, so
Well,
Chair will entertain a motion for continuance.
So moved.
if I'm correct, sir, you already had a motion to deny with a second
We were
on the
still in the
table.
public hearing, and I think we need to
didn't
come
make
out
You
of
didn't
that.
make it? Okay.
Because we were in a public hearing. I never made it.
You can't make
Right.
the motion in the public hearing, correct, Mr. Bruce?
Not to deny her.
I think we can close the public hearing and then we can have a,
And then
we
we
can
have
have a
discussion,
motion.
right.
If the motion's to continue and then there is additional testimony put in the record by the applicant at the continued meeting, then the council will reopen the public hearing. The audience will be given an opportunity to speak on any of the additional testimony.
So, once I close the public hearing, now
Anybody?
we'll deal with that. Close the public hearing.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to make a motion that we deny ordinance 3059 due
Second.
to the compatibility issues.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to deny ordinance 3059. Any discussion?
Discussion?
Let's vote. Ward 4?
I'm sorry, I said discussion.
Oh, I'm sorry, I can't hear you, Ms. Martin.
Okay. I want to make it clear, by looking at doing a continuance, I am not in any way, shape, or form coming down on one side or the other. It's important when you sit up here and you're trying to make decisions that's going to affect our neighbors and our community, that you have as much information as possible. And having this continued would mean that the city would get to see either the plans that the neighbors have already seen or a new plan brought forward. So I don't want anyone in here thinking I'm taking one side or another. I'm trying to get more information to be able to make an educated and informed decision. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Right, welcome.
Mr. Mayor, I guess I'll make one last comment. What we're talking about is the expansion of housing types. We're taking something that's, they can build single-family homes right now. They can build duplexes right now under R2. If we go in the direction of approving or even looking, we continue it and we get down the road and approve this, we're expanding it to the point where they can do the 3-story structures, they can do the multifamily. And so that's my opinion of why we should go ahead and the people, we've had the public hearing, let's go ahead and, make a decision. They can. The owners of the property, they can build single-family homes and or duplexes under the R2 zoning. So, that's where I stand at this point and that's my rationale behind the motion to deny.
I agree, and they also can reapply for this zoning down the road, too.
Mr. Roll?
Yeah, okay, well, you've heard my desire to try to move forward. I had made a request several times on whether this had been previously ruled on, and we've got some kind of answer out of staff, but I would have liked that from the applicant. It would have been nice. There's certainly issues here. It would have been nice to see a site plan. I'll go ahead and this is quasi-judicial, and when it was said that we have all these people who were brought down here in the middle of a COVID pandemic, that obviously the desires of the councilman from Ward 5, who I knew that there was traffic problems on 27th Street Court East, but I've never been caught up into it to the point to where I knew it was as bad. I know I can't deny this project based on that alone, because this isn't going to solve it. But with all the information that was thrown at me today, and at the recommendation of the councilman that is in that ward, that I'll go along with his motion, just on the grounds that I don't believe that I was given a proper presentation to change the zoning, which it seems may or may not improve the problem at all. But they do have a right to develop. They walked in here with that right to develop. They will leave here with their right to develop as R2.
Mr. Gallo?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. While I respect Councilman Byrd's feeling about people having to come back, they're going to have to come back if you deny it, because there's going to be a different plan to come in, so they're going to have to come back. So to me, that doesn't make sense. I have never, as far as I can remember, and I've been on this council for 29 years, I can't ever remember denying a continuance when there is a problem that can be resolved. So I think to say no now is wrong. If we vote for a continuance, they can't do what they've brought up. If they don't come back with something that this council feels right about, then it's a no vote. So I'm not going to support Mr. Byrd's motion.
We have a motion and a second to deny ordinance 3059. Is there any more discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
1?
No.
2?
I have never seen this council deny the request of an applicant to continue something. I'm sorry, Mr. Byrd, I can't support this. My vote is no.
3.
Yes.
Ordinance 3059 is denied. The vote is 3-2.
Mr. Mayor, we will prepare an order for denial, and we will bring that back at the next council agenda for approval.
All right. Eddie, good to see you. How have you been, brother? Nice to see you. Thanks for coming down. Appreciate it.
Mr. Mayor, are we taking a break? Mr. Mayor, are we taking a break?
We're not, but everybody left the room. So if you was,
Leave the room.
I'm ready. Let's go. Mr. Gallo,
How are you, sir? I'm doing well. I'm doing well.
Ms. Beauchamp, let's go move forward.
Yes, sir. Next, we have the next item is item LU.20.0637. This is the second reading and public hearing of ordinance 3060, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, providing for amendment to the City of Bradenton Land Use Atlas, changing the zoning designation from T4R Urban General Restricted to T4O Urban General Open for the properties located at 924 7th Avenue East and 928 7th Avenue East, and more particularly described in Exhibit A, providing for applicability, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. Again, this is the second reading. It is a public hearing, and action is requested on this item today.
Good morning again. Marshall McCray, Planning and Community Development Department. I have a brief presentation regarding this case. As Sharon mentioned, this is ordinance 3060. It's a land use or rezoning case 20.0637. It's for two properties next door to each other at 924 and 928 7th Avenue East. They total just under 6/10 of an acre, so two relatively small lots. Let me kind of jump ahead to a map where I can show you where we're located. The southwest corner of 7th Avenue East and 10th Street East. And the applicant is Paul Grievous, representing himself as one owner and acting as agent for the other property owner. These properties are currently zoned T4R, as we see here. They're joined by T4O across the street and next door to the west. Their T4R continues on down 7th Avenue East and dominates the block face to the east of the subject properties. T4O and T4R are intrinsically linked. They both come from our T4 General Urban Zoning Standard. T4R stands for T4 Restricted. T4O stands for T4 Open. Restricted meaning you are limited just to residential. There's some special use allowances for some non-residential things within T4R. T4O, however, introduces some limited office and retail types of uses. So T4O introduces things beyond residential, but on a neighborhood commercial scale. I've got a list of uses for T4R listed here. Includes some special uses which are somewhat commercial in nature. T4O, you see we introduce a full array of residential again, but we also are adding some additional office, retail, display gallery, restaurant type uses as well. And some more slightly more intense uses that are allowed as special uses, which is subject to your approval. The underlying future land use for both of these properties is medium density residential. This is supportive of both T4O and T4R. It supports residential and light commercial neighborhood commercial development, excuse me. As with the previous case, staff is obligated to evaluate based on criteria established in section 3.1.5 of the land use regulations. As I mentioned earlier, we do find that the T4O that's requested is compatible with the underlying future land use. We find it is compatible with the adjacent and surrounding land uses. It lies in an area well served by public utilities and transit. It would not result in any conflicts with the public. And we find that it's consistent with land use regulations and both the form-based code. One nice thing that we point out about the form-based code change that occurs here is we get a block face that's consistent in zoning, and we have the same type of public-facing development along a T4O block rather than have it mixed such as currently is shown. So we are recommending favorably for this change. We feel it's a correct zoning change, and will allow for the introduction of some light commercial here. The applicant's here and will address his specific needs, but we do understand that it'll be a conversion to an office space, which was previously a residential unit. So our recommendation is for approval. This was recommended favorably by the Planning Commission at their June hearing as well by a unanimous vote. As before, I'm available for questions if anybody has any.
Okay. Any questions of Marshall?
Thank you.
Thank you. Let's open the public hearing. Anyone who wishes to speak in favor of this ordinance, please come forward.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paul Grievous. I live at 106 9th Street East, and my wife and I own the western of these two properties. And I think this matter will be everything the other one wasn't, and vice versa. The footprint of the structures are not set to change in any significant way. The westernmost property is the one my wife and I own. We bought it a year ago, and it's a 95-year-old farmhouse. We've been painstakingly trying to restore it and hoping that we could ultimately change the use, but we've taken every care to make sure it would pass muster either way. The big differences that are outstanding in the house, pending, subject to the approval, would be parking, which I've already submitted a proposal for, and a wheelchair ramp, because the house is elevated 2 feet off the ground. That is pending. It hasn't been filed with the city yet. But I'm just confirming a few things with my contractor, and that will be submitted shortly. The property to the east of the two is not going to change its current use. It is being rented out to a family. Personally, I think the area, because of the high traffic and the noise and everything else, is probably not particularly suited to said family, but they're good tenants, and I've had conversations, shouting matches almost, for conversations because of the ambient road noise. It isn't a particularly well-suited place for residential, but they are happy at the time being. The landlord is happy at the time being, but because it is in the best interest of the city to convert entire blocks, so it's not, piecemeal, this makes a lot more sense. In the event the eastern of those two properties does change its use, there is for parking in the back, and plenty of access along 10th Street to accommodate that. Their house is situated very close to the road, which again makes it almost deafening trying to have a conversation. It's roughly 25 feet from the road. So there's ample parking in the back should they change their use. I intend to use the western parcel for my law firm. As councilmen may know, councilwomen and women may know, that area, Ward 5 and to some extent Ward 4, that's immediately north of this property, are rather underserved for legal services. And my experience is, having worked for other firms, that there are certain communities that simply do not have access to these resources, and I'm looking forward to providing those resources in this much-needed community. My experience, I've been working for a firm in St. Pete Beach, and because there's nobody in, say, South St. Pete that's available to handle, or hardly anybody available to handle, estate planning and probate, we've had situations where realtors from there were asking us to help out with situations where, a parent or parents had died several years ago, and the children are now looking to do something with the property, and nobody even told them, what they had to do to move forward. And there was nobody in the area. And just a quick scouring of the phone book and the Florida Bar website, there's not a lot of resources in this immediate area. And I look forward to reaching out to the community and helping to provide said resources. In general, for upzoning, there will be a demand, increased demand for services, for goods, for general retail, all the type uses that it would be allowed under T4O, because recently the council, not recently, but I guess a few years ago, the council approved 2 major developments in the immediate vicinity, well, 3 immediately west of, including the Addison immediately west of it. But you have 2 large complexes with approximately 200 units in each, and there's, rather limited retail. There's, need for a lot of goods and services that normally would accommodate all those added-on units. So we don't anticipate any issues with infrastructure. There's road access, water, sewer. Obviously, not knowing the intended use, ultimately, if it's changed in the eastern of those 2 lots, they would obviously have to come to this council if they requested one of the additional ones that Mr. McCreary mentioned. I think this is a no-brainer, but I'm not paid the big bucks to do your job. I'll be glad to answer any questions lady and gentlemen have. Thank you.
You're living in a dream world, I can tell that.
Just a comment, you probably have 2 council people pass by there every day.
Yes. So you know the neighborhood well. It's a speedway, masquerading as a 35 mile an hour speed limit area. So
that is Ward 5, but Ward 4 is just
immediately north of it. Yes, sir.
Right. And
I reside in Ward 4.
Last project was actually Ward 4.
The last project?
The last one we just talked about.
No, that was 5. I'm sorry.
No, it's
That was
fine.
Ward 5.
It's all 5? Okay.
Yeah.
Because it switches in and out.
It used to be 4.
It used to be 4.
Not anymore.
Yeah, it used to be.
Okay.
Okay,
All right,
thank
any
you.
questions of the applicant? Thank you.
This question, so you bought the property?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yeah, we own the western of the 2 properties, and then I'm representing the folks that own the one immediately east of it.
Now, I know that property well. I looked at it a few years ago, you know, I thought it was a pretty interesting real estate offer. So I think what you're proposing is a good fit for that.
Thank you. And honestly, the only reason why we were able to buy it is because I promised the previous owners that I wouldn't tear it down. Because obviously, it just is just outside the antiques overlay, so we could have petitioned to do whatever, and that was their concern, because it was a property that was held in their family for decades, and I promised them I wouldn't tear it down.
Carl, do we still own that property next door?
I was going to say, just as a point of information, yes, we are the property owner to the immediate west of this particular property.
Yeah, the property immediately west is owned by the city. It's currently been rented to Station 2.
Right.
Which offers office space and commercial services to about a dozen businesses. I've actually spoken with the people that run Station 2, and they're looking forward to having us as neighbors.
Who are the owners, or were the owners of 924?
They're, God, it escapes me. I'm sorry, I'm brain cramp.
Vic?
No, they were the Coveys. Stephen and Bruce Covey. Their father had owned it going back to the early 70s and had it as a rental property. I think briefly they resided in it, but so they kind of had a liking to it as a bit of family history, if you will, not just a piece of dirt.
Well, I lived in 912 in the 60s and 70s as a firefighter.
Oh, wow, yeah, Station 2.
And used to feed the squirrels on the property in 924, but the person that owned it was a retired firefighter, and their last name was Vic.
Okay.
At that time.
Yeah, I believe the Covey's father, whose name escapes me again, he bought it back in 73 or 74, and it's been in the family ever since he passed several years back, and then they obviously inherited it. And
But,
so.
Mr. Gallo, you were there, it was 18 what?
Yeah, 1862. Right after the Civil War.
The War of Northern Aggression.
Yeah.
War between the states.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Anyone else who wants to speak in favor of this ordinance? Anyone else in favor? Anyone in opposition to ordinance 3060? Any opposition? Any opposition? Any opposition? Hearing none? Close public hearing. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve ordinance 3060.
Second. We have a motion and a second to approve ordinance 3060. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 5?
Yes.
1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
Ordinance is approved. The vote is 5-0. Thank you for your patience, Paul. Ms. Beauchamp?
Next, we have the first reading of Ordinance 3070, an ordinance of the City of Bradenton, Florida, amending Chapter 62, Article 4 of the Code of Ordinances to provide closing hours for the public day dock located at Riverwalk Park, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date. And since this is a first reading, there is no vote required per our attorney, so we will go ahead and set this second reading and public hearing for August 26th. We're all set with that.
Chair will entertain a motion.
Move to approve ordinance 3070 for...
We said we weren't going to do it anymore.
Need to move it.
We don't need to do anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we're not doing that
We
anymore.
can go on to new business.
Yeah.
You guys are really wanting to work today.
No, that's...
An automatic continuation.
From Attorney Rudisil, we have the Land Use Restriction Agreement with Pearl Homes Partnership 8 LLC.
Thank you, and good morning, Mayor and Council. This is a land use restriction agreement related to the Manatee Inn site. It primarily does two things. First of all, if you'll recall, when the proposal came forward, they were seeking a waiver of impact fees as part of that project to provide the workforce housing. So this agreement would constitute the council's authorization of that impact fee waiver. The other thing that the agreement does is it locks in the parameters of the rent numbers to ensure that the property remains as workforce housing for the 15 years as was proffered by the applicant in their proposal. I guess it does, the agreement does one more thing. It requires them to develop the site in accordance with their proposal that was presented to the CRA. So this is being brought to the City Council because of the impact fee waiver issue. And that's why it's in front of you here instead of as the CRA. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Mr. Rudisil, when he and I discussed this, also indicated that the city, for the most part, would be the person that would have to enforce the restriction itself, rather than the CRA. The agency of the Planning Community Development Department would be the one to enforce that and monitor that.
City's in a better position to do it.
Could you give us, because I know I've been keeping track of the closing process, give the rest of the board exactly where we're at on that?
So they've requested to close. I don't know if we have a date yet, but it's within the next week or so is when they would like to close, which is why this got added to the agenda for today.
Yeah, I talked to him yesterday, and he wants to close in a week.
Right, right.
Did we, what was did we have an agreement on the workforce housing numbers for the rental?
Those numbers are in the agreement.
Which are?
I think it's 80 to the 120% of the
right
median area income.
Of the what? Median income? Which give me a ballpark on that.
Those are consistent with the numbers they gave us. I think it was $850 to $1,100 or $1,200.
$850 to $11. I remember that, but I don't remember any.
Those numbers reflect that the 80 to 120 reflect an actual dollar amount. That's why.
850 to 1,100 per month. And so did they request impact fee waiver at that time?
Yes, they did. I went back to the minutes.
Okay.
HTG had previously requested ahead of them, and then they came back and requested impact fees. They requested everything. We indicated to them through this agreement that we could not authorize school impact fees.
Mm-hmm.
So we pulled that from the agreement to make sure that they were not being authorized school impact fees. That was a whole different
So
issue.
there's no other waivers like tax?
No. No tax
ad valorem
abatements.
tax.
There's no other agreements in place.
And that's okay. What dollar amount would those impact fees would be, do you know?
We don't know until we know the numbers of units.
The number of
It's
units.
saying up to 200 units is what this agreement says. So it would be a fairly sizable amount. Hundreds of thousands probably overall.
Right.
So Scott, what would you want the motion to be?
I believe it is just a motion to approve the land use restriction agreement with Pearl Homes Partnership 8 LLC and authorize the mayor to execute. Same?
So moved.
Second.
What do we?
I was just going to say on the impact fees, they are entitled to certain exemptions, probably because of the cottages that existed before, but that would just be a breakdown whether they're exempt or they're waived. Still be no payment due.
There was cottages?
Manatee Inns was a cottage village.
Okay.
Yeah, a series of kind of a
So
little
there's
bit
already
like.
some, there are already some
There was some stuff
credits there, yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
They were,
Ramshack.
Kind of like a little bit of Bradenton Castle, but not on that grand a scale. With little windy roads and.
Kind of like that.
Oh, I didn't know, I didn't see it, I thought it was a hotel.
It was a not nice place to be.
they were very, very tiny,
Mhm.
because I grew up in that neighborhood. They were, and the people, tourists that were coming down here would, they'd pull up and park right, and when I say tiny, I don't think they didn't appear from the outside to be much bigger than perhaps the area of the dais right here.
They were the original tiny homes.
Yeah, they absolutely, I couldn't figure out how anybody would, I think you'd have to go outside to change your mind. They were
And
that
later on,
tiny.
it just became a flop house, a drug haven. So.
It was bad.
We have a motion and a second to approve. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5.
Yes.
Motion is approved. The vote's 5-0. Ms. Beauchamp?
Next, under unfinished business, we have the 2020 COPS hiring program. Police chief and the police department is requesting a decision on this today. This is a grant that has a submission deadline of August 27th.
I know from my perspective, when this had come forward, there was questions that I had raised about affordability and our abilities to be able to pay for a grant, knowing what we do coming forward with the loss of revenues. Also knowing as in the CRAs that there is an opportunity specifically outlined within the CRAs as available funding, legal funding and a usable funding is for community policing. And if we thought that for some reason that we didn't want to do this just through our regular funding sources, because that there would be an opportunity if we were so inclined to be able to draw up a community policing plan, which Chief Bevan has done and was presented, that talked about how we would be able to use these officers exclusively within the CRAs. And I think it also discusses there is significant crime within the CRAs that would allow the use and probably be a good use in helping to clean up our CRAs. Our matching grant over this is approximately $100,000 a year over the next 3 years, which if you split it out between each of the CRAs is approximately $30,000 to $35,000 a year that would come from each of the CRAs to fund this. I think the expectation during that time frame, because one thing we have talked about over quite a number of years is that as our particularly downtown CRA and our CRAs grow, all the new development that's coming on board is not creating additional sources to be able to help pay for our essential services, which we know at some point in time was going to be a problem. As you see all these apartment complexes come on, there's no contribution that's going towards police, fire, any other department. It's all going into the CRAs. So there is an opportunity, I think, in the very near future to create a more robust community policing plan that says how do we utilize those resources throughout the CRAs in a bigger plan. This is a kind of a micro version of that would be able to start out if you're so inclined. But the reason we're bringing it, it's listed both here and the CRA. If you are interested in doing that, the city must still accept the grant. It's in under CRA business, was added as CRA business because it would still take the CRA's approval of that to add it as a budget item for funding if that's something you're interested in doing. But we wanted to present that option rather than just saying, no, you have to say no because there may not be enough money in this year's budget. If you think it's a good idea to try to do that with the officers, then certainly we've been able to establish a funding source that I don't think unduly burdens any of the CRAs to do that. That's why I presented last time a general understanding of how much money would be available on an ongoing basis to be able to fund not only this, but all other projects included.
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Sanders?
So this would have to be voted on both by the city and the CRA?
Well, to accept the grant would be a city responsibility because it is the city of Bradenton. And then to fund it, it would take a CRA approval to put the funding in the budget because that would be the source of funding for the match.
So it does take
Yes.
both. What about other amenities that goes with that, like health insurance, vehicles, et cetera?
It doesn't include vehicles because that was part of the understanding with the chief is that we wouldn't be going after new vehicles for this because that gets it awful expensive. But the full cost that of the grant is health care, all benefits,
So
all
in the
overhead.
budget, I did see like some new vehicles was over. That wasn't for this purpose.
That's not for this purpose, absolutely not.
that's in
That's
addition.
just the normal ongoing,
So there would be no vehicles now or in the future?
well, I think the idea was that certainly, Chief can talk about it.
However noteworthy, you all approved a JAG grant community policing vehicle earlier, so that would be one of the 3 cars that would be needed, that just got approved. And so we're also looking at some alternative funding, grant funding, through some task force we're involved in. So I can answer that. No, we're not looking for vehicles. I understand that we would have to seek alternative means to achieve that, and we're well immersed in that endeavor.
So what we just approved was for 3?
One.
Just one vehicle.
Well, one vehicle.
Currently, we have one dedicated community, we have one dedicated community officer that is really trying to satisfy my efforts, the city efforts, to provide proactive policing as opposed to simply reactive. This is in addition to the downtown officers that you're well aware of who are funded through the DBA. He kind of takes care of the whole rest of the city. We incur that as part of our regular budget right now. This is really just trying to advance that program and give some dedicated folks to very specific certain areas to grow relationships, a variety of things.
So how many officers is this? What you're just talking about? I thought it was 6.
3. So the COPS grant, and just to remind you, and hopefully you all had an opportunity to look at the memo, that really it just addresses the CRA. The COPS grant was awarded to us, the only city in Manatee County, one of few throughout the state. We've been putting in for this grant for the past several years, and we've been denied. I think we did a pretty good application this time. Lieutenant Gins and I worked hard on that one. This would increase our numbers from 120 sworn to 123. I've discussed before, and understanding that those 3 officers would not be regular 911 call driven. They would be strictly assigned to the specific CRAs to which they were assigned, and people would know who they were, you would know who they were, their names, what have you. It would increase us to 123. I have mentioned before that if we try to achieve that 2.2 ratio, which is what is always recommended, we should have 125. I'm not asking for 125. I think if we could make this leap, we haven't increased our staffing since 2010. I think that this would and I will tell you in this day and age, when you look at what's happening out in the U.S., people are clamoring, and I'm not so sure that Bradenton isn't either, for an officer that isn't really simply there to handle the calls, respond, and then leave. They're looking for somebody that provides, I'm going to say, more of a social aspect, more of a social work, that gets in there and does those CEPTED surveys. I would expect that these officers would be all trained in CEPTED, that would get in there and work on these quality of life issues that oftentimes my officers just don't have time to handle because they're call driven and they're going from call to call. We do have a high call volume. I will tell you that this past month it's increased. So
They would be working more with homeless situations too.
And they're very much the way beat officers work in big cities.
very quality of life oriented. They would be the ones going to the meetings in those wards. They'll be provided phones that they're going to have to hand out the phone numbers to. Have a flexible schedule so that they can meet the needs morning, night, what have you, whenever those problems are existing. It's a program that we've had here in the past in Bradenton, more before me, and unfortunately what oftentimes happens is departments and agencies, because of rising call numbers, they just have to become more call driven. That's when you see services drop off. As I've mentioned before, I've had the ability to add, because we were fully staffed at the beginning of spring, we were fully staffed. I could add another person to traffic. I could add some resources to some places. Right now, our numbers are down a little bit, and so we've had to pull some of those resources back. But the goal of this is to put these people strictly working in these neighborhoods. I come from an agency that fully enveloped that for 20 years, and I've seen the benefits that a program like that can have, not necessarily in the city, but with communities and with people living in communities, and it really can give us a great relationship with folks because they have a one-on-one with officers who they see each and every day.
Mm-hmm. So this is is this similar to what Sarasota's doing with their, or are you familiar with that?
I'm sure it's similar to what many agencies doing. This is.
But we don't have that now. We have kind of a hybrid of it.
Yeah, we have one person.
One person, which is not nearly, not
No, and he does. A great example is I brought Mr. Callahan yesterday. My officer was out there. I can't remember the property, but the mural. Quality of life, it's a blighted project. He's getting complaints from a from the development, except I think that particular building belongs to the county, and he's like, you know, I want to get out there and mow it and trim the grass and get people who want to paint a mural, and I've got this group, and this would be a really great thing for the city. And I said, well, okay, but you know, this one patch that belongs to the county, but let's work with the county and try to get that done together because it reflects on the city. Some people agree with that approach to policing, some people don't. I think it's great. I think we need more of that, while keeping in mind we still have to handle calls and investigate crimes and put bad guys in jail.
Mr. Mayor,
Keller.
I guess this question is more for Carl and maybe Sharon. I always quite obviously follow the news on TV, and I noticed several times, Carl, that cities were talking about funding that they can get for their fire and police departments.
Right.
Using the CBG money, is that true?
I haven't seen it on CDBG money from that perspective, because remember 2 years ago we took on the 6 firefighters through the grant for the firefighters to bring those numbers back up to the original 66. But I'm not aware of CDBG funding.
Well, then may I ask you to look into that, because there were several cities that discussed that's where they get some funding.
There may be some assistance for funding because of COVID-19 that's aiding in some time and some supplies, but actually personnel.
I don't know that it was dealing with COVID-19. It was just dealing about the budget problems that were being caused for the police departments. And the cities were talking about that they get some of the funding from CBG,
well,
which kind of set me back, because we've never done that, and I'd like for us to look into that and see if that is available for us.
We can certainly look into that. You know, we don't get that much money as an entitlement city. You know, we're at 437,000 is what we just looked at for this entire year, and that's pretty much a high mark for a while. But we can look at it. We've always looked at grants. One of the things I will tell you, and that was a goal that we thought years ago that we needed 66 firefighters to be able to do the job, and we got down to 60 during the recession, which we cut, but we cut maybe a little too thin. And the opportunity to bring those 6 back a few years ago, we did. The same situation has happened in the police department. We were at 122 officers is our high water mark, which when we brought on grants to get to 122 officers. This takes, and we then attrited back down to 120. This would take us up to 123. If you look at our history with grants, we are exactly what the cops people at the criminal justice want. We have taken positions on over the years, grown from 85 or 90 officers years and years ago to the 122 almost exclusively through the grants cops program. And we have retained those officers over the years. We didn't take them with the intent of thinking we didn't need to grow. We took them with the intent of understanding that if we needed officers, this was going to buy us some time to make sure the funding was in place when you get out of the grant situation 3 years out. And that's kind of what we're looking at here, realizing if we think we need these officers, we can find a funding source now. And certainly I hope that we're in a better position 3 years from now when we have to accept the full $300,000 associated with these officers versus the half of it that's out there now. So we're excited, if you're excited about the opportunity to do this. We think it's a really good way to be able to make it happen, and it adds value, I believe, into the CRAs.
This is just a 1-year program, right?
It's a 3-year program.
3-year program.
3-year program. I got a question. With the 14th Street CRA, for the most part, I know exactly where the boundaries are, and for the most part, it's surrounding the Village of the Arts. The biggest area of necessary crime reduction is needed just to the east, west, and south. Would they not be allowed to go, would they just be excluded to inside the CRA boundaries? Because the Village of the Arts is not really that crime-ridden right now, but the areas right around it are affecting it, where it kind of flows in.
Right, and so you said exactly the right thing. If things outside the CRA are impacting the CRA, they can certainly address that.
They're allowed to cross.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no hard and fast boundary. It becomes more of a, it's really about quality of life issues within that CRA. And if it means that, well, I don't need to give you the example. You said just that. It's things outside that are adversely impacting the residents there, then they can address that. They can go outside their boundaries. And of course, during times of, serious situations, hurricanes, what have you, they don't have to stay in their little area. There is a caveat that you can use them for emergency situations, and as well, situations like that. They don't think that things don't happen citywide that impact people differently. So it's not that restrictive.
Okay, well, and that might that need to be looked at more closely through the CRA.
Also, sir, just to further answer that question, also consider this. When I have somebody, an additional person, working primarily within that CRA, the Village of the Arts, that then frees up another officer who would normally have been there to address some of these other areas more so. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, and that was one of my questions. So the rest of it is now going to go. So we just finished with the PBA contract, and we had a big debate as to whether it was going to be 1 year or we stretched it out 3 years because it matched up with the higher rank, and knowing that we were going into a financial situation that was unstable, we went ahead at the council and went with the extra money. So I'm worried about the long-term costs, and our outlook for our city is that this is going to not be a great year. Next year will probably be far worse. So another question is, if we get into this and make this commitment, is this grant, if you accept it, are we stuck for 3 years, or what if after a year we found out we can't live up to the terms of this? And then long-term, as Carl just said, we're expecting we can assume the cost of these 3 officers full-time. We may not be able to do that. I mean, I know that we can back out of that, but what about the contract? Is there a contract for this? So if you take it, is it for all 3 years mandatory, or can you break off to say, hey, this seemed like a good idea, but
I'll let Lieutenant Gins address that one portion of it. But again, I think what we're suggesting is that this will have no impact to the city budget.
CRAs.
Well, yes.
It won't impact the general fund.
Correct.
But we're shifting it right over to the CRAs, which we're just now getting ahead on those.
Just where
Correct.
all the money is.
Yes. And certainly,
Just where all the money is.
I know
Well, not
that
necessarily.
Officer Giddens can speak to that. One of the terms of the grant is that it can be extended, meaning if you read the exact terms of it, it says 3 years, but if you're having, whether it's trouble using it for a certain way because of times, because of hardships, you can ask for a request or an extension of time, which would allow you to run it out a little longer. If you look at the SAFER grant, which was a 3-year grant, we did not totally use the SAFER grant in a 3-year period. It extended over by request, and if you look at the terms of the grant in detail, it allows for that in this particular instance. The goal would be to have 3 officers, 3 years, the full time, and really then keep them on after that. But we do know that nobody expected a pandemic, so you are in a situation where things do change. I think the thing you don't want to be in a position of, because we like being in a position where when we take a grant, we utilize it the way it should be, which I think says when you're going after the next application of anything, it speaks well for that. But we all know there's no guarantees. There aren't guarantees. The one thing I did want to say about the CRAs, I would not have brought it up as a CRA option if I thought it would be a detriment to their overall funding. When I brought up the numbers a couple of weeks ago, what I had is I went ahead and put those into detail. But as I'd indicated at that meeting, the Bradenton CRA has in excess of this year, in excess of $2 million unallocated. And for the next 3 years, we'll have between $1.4 million and $1.6 million unallocated, meaning we haven't spoken for those monies. It's your choice as to how you spend that. So certainly the Bradenton CRA is in a position to afford the $35,000 if they want to. The same in the central CRA. The central CRA is to the point where this year they have $1.2 million unallocated, maybe even more. That was my initial projection, with a little over $400,000 each year going forward to be able to spend. That's not currently spoken for. And then the 14th Street CRA has $1.9 million this year, with 550, almost up to 600,000 over the next 3 years. And with that, I made the assumption that we spend every dollar of that big number that's unallocated this year exclusively. We will not do that. There will be more than that carryover for each of the next 3 years to be able to do things. But the only way to account for it is saying, we're going to assume we're spending it all. So what would be out there each of the next 3 years, just based on revenues and current commitments, that we would be able to spend at the discretion of the CRA board?
Right. So, and I understand that, and also realizing that too, the CRAs, you know, if we want to do a big project, we actually need those big monies. I mean, the Bradenton CRA has always been the cash cow in this town. It's the 14th Street and the CCRA that have been struggling for most of the time that I've been sitting on this dais. So, you know, I'm aware of that as we're moving forward. I'm not opposed to the plan. It concerns me to be sticking a monthly bill on, you know, of CRA. So my question is, if we accept a grant, and when we say we're going to do it this way, what are we committed to a full 3-year commitment? And I guess we could always pin it back to the city if the CRA didn't want to do it.
We could certainly ask that question. Lieutenant Giddens and I both believe the answer would be no, because they do advertise it as a 3-year community policing grant. They feel, COPS office feels that to be effective with this program, that it needs to be a 36-month program. If we truly want to make quality of life improvements, reduce crime, what have you, they want to see some longevity. We can certainly ask. We assume that the answer will be no.
Mayor, I guess it's sort of a comment and maybe a question too. I guess first thing is that there we go. We're wearing 2 different hats again. We have the actual approval of the grant here today, and moving forward with the hiring of the 3 officers. I think we need to make sure that we say, okay, if we do this, it's 3 years, whether the city pays for it or the CRAs. So having said that, I know we got to approve the funding in the next meeting, in the CRA meeting. My only concern is that we have to be careful that we're doing everything as according to the statute, because if we fund in 14th Street, you know, you kind of limit it to that particular district according to Florida statute. So when we make that decision in the CRA meeting, you know, we can have that discussion then. But I'm in support of moving forward here in this city council meeting, knowing full well that if we go for 3 years, whether we pay for it here or we pay for it there, we're making the commitment. That's my opinion of what we're doing here today, but I'm in support of it.
And I absolutely agree with what you're saying. I just want to make sure I was clear to respond to your question. When I say they can go outside the boundaries, I've got this idea that there's a lot of burglaries happening in Village of the Arts, and we decide that there's a burglary ring living a mile out. They can go handle that and investigate that, because it's directly impacting something in the Village of the Arts, and maybe that clarifies it a little bit.
Yeah, it would be, that's what Mr. Byrd brought up is what I'm concerned with. The money has to stay inside the CRA.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I understand that. I've dealt with that in the past, and I know that oftentimes agencies, all of a sudden the drift factor comes in. that would not be the case.
And you know as well as I do that the area surrounding the 14th Street CRA is probably higher crime than what is exactly in it.
Absolutely, absolutely. But again, I envision 3 officers with 3 CRAs working collectively together, and so that most days of the week I have one of them. You know what I mean? It's kind of like a team approach. They all 3 become familiar with those 3 CRAs. It's a community policing squad, each assigned, because what I want to try to do is get my biggest bang for the buck and get the best response. You know, I think I've given you these numbers before. To staff 1 full-time officer 24/7 takes 5 officers. So when we want to add a 24/7, 7 days a week, it's 5 officers. We can't accomplish that with 3, but we can do pretty darn good. We can come pretty close. Nights and mornings and weekends, and always have somebody on the hook to be called for CRA issues. And that's where they work, and that's the only place they work.
I have a question.
Thank you.
This has to be dedicated to CRAs, does it? I mean, you can use them you can take this money and use it for 3 officers anywhere in the city.
The answer is, if you want to fund it through the city of Bradenton in their general fund budget, there's no reason to go through the CRA.
Right.
If that was the goal, we were just thinking that because there had been such an issue about funding of officers and adding to additional officers, that if you were interested in not adding to the general fund budget right now, interested in still getting the officers, this was a way to be able to do it.
It's an alternative form of funding.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. I just want to make that clear, that that you can do this within the city budget and use these officers anywhere in the city.
Right.
You can.
They have specific. They have to perform a specific function, but they could be used anywhere if it wasn't part of the CRA. And when Carl and I sat down and we examined, particularly out east, that's an area that I think could really benefit. You know, particularly there. So we.
Well, and my initial point too was I wanted to make, the city council's already committed a lot of extra money to the police department through the PBA contracts. We were hung up on the 1 year versus 3 year, and we did what we thought was the right thing there. So if we go forward on this, we're really going up and beyond the Call of Duty in budgeting the PDs, in my opinion.
Yes, sir. And I do, and I think I mentioned before, I do appreciate that. I don't know if you all saw the article, I think it was yesterday or day before, Palmetto Police Department. They've lost 5 officers since January to MSO, who are out hiring us at this point, out paying us at this point. I think we have a good contract. I think we have a great department. We attract folks. We're attracting folks from up north, but it's a battle right now to retain qualified individuals. Our numbers are a little lower than I'd like, but we do have some people in the hopper. And as I even mentioned to Mr. Callahan, my challenge, if this gets approved, is now to not just hire 3 more people, but to hire 6 more people. And I'm going to have to try to come up with some creative ways to find those folks. But it's you know what's going on. It's becoming difficult for police agencies across the nation to find folks, and I'm glad we put ourselves in a pretty equitable arena. Maybe not as equitable with the sheriff's office, but I keep saying when you compare apples to apples, we're right up there with them with equipment and what we offer our folks. So thank you for that.
Okay, the motion we would be looking for would be to accept the grant, authorize the mayor to execute the grant with the cops, the Justice Department on that.
I believe we need to continue it or table it until we've been in a CRA meeting to discuss it.
Why would you do that? I thought it was an urgency.
Well, the urgency from our standpoint is there's a deadline on the time
The
to be
26th.
able to accept it. What was it, the 27th?
August 27th.
27th, so we have a meeting we can have a special meeting, or we have a meeting on the 26th. That's the reason I just looking at the calendar. So we have, I think we need to discuss it with CRA and then bring it back to council. That's my personal opinion.
Well, if you would approve this now, you're saying the city wants to do this, and it's in the,
This-
it's in our
this might
budget.
help.
Now, the CRA is just alternative funding. We're just trying to get a nod if you think it's a good idea for us to get those additional police officers.
This might
If
help.
we do that in the city council meeting, then I think we have to be prepared to fund the rest of it through the council budget.
Not necessarily.
This may help the discussion. We can actually accept it, but if the funding does not materialize, we can, before we move forward with it, we can opt out. So we'll still have those 30 days to opt out. We could accept it today, but could opt out if the funding didn't materialize. Did I say that?
And we don't, and once again, we don't have to fund it through the CRA. This is basically, we're saying, worst case scenario, that the city council will accept the liability of these officers. And if the CRA wants to do it, fine, and if not, it sticks with the city.
Right.
And we can turn it down.
Yeah. So
You're prepared to make that decision today versus reviewing the budget?
I don't know, I mean, this came out of the blue on me right now, but I do see it, I knew it was out there. I knew this was out there, I saw it in the newspaper, a couple of months ago that we got the grant. So, I don't know, I mean, I guess we can have the discussion. I'm not, the whole idea of funding it through the CRA is brand new to me today, right now, and I'm not sure about that. But, the council can decide whether they want to accept the extra $100,000 a year for PD, and then, I mean, at the end of it is 3 years. If we're in the tank 3 years from now, we could just let them go. That's just, we don't have to keep them on.
Mr. Mayor?
Mr. Sanders had a motion to
I
continue.
have a motion to continue or table this until after a CRA meeting and
And
bring it
there
up
wa-
either
there
on the
was no
19th or the 26th.
And there was no second,
There's
so
no
the motion
second.
dies.
It dies for lack of a second.
We had the opportunity to get a second.
Everyone entertain a motion?
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, I guess, ask the city attorney, right now, can we, within the motion, have it contingent upon getting the funds through the CRA?
Sure, if the
I'd
council wants it to be contingent upon the CRA agreeing to fund it, then
Well,
I
I
think
mean-
that could be part of the motion.
Right, because the way I see it is that we have one council person here that's trying to, say, hey, we need to look at these things, and we're discussing in the CRA meeting, and we can do so in the next meeting, and but this will be approval, but contingent upon the funding coming from the CRA.
Or you could move for approval, making the funding contingent upon whatever account or area that the council or CRA board chose to do so.
I guess I'm just, I was just trying to, me being that person to try to compromise and satisfy, which is hard sometimes, but, so he had a valid point. You want to look at the budget, you want to get into CRA meeting, and I thought if we did it that way. But I am, and I said earlier, I am totally ready, to, move forward. I think the proposal, but in the back of my mind, I'm saying, guess what? We got to find a way to do it either through city or the CRA. And that's the only thing. And I was just trying to.
But you don't
What I
have to.
think,
The
Mr.
chief
Byrd,
said
is-
we can opt out in 30 days. Let's just get it done. And if it doesn't work out, we can opt out in 30 days. That's not locking us up.
I want to just add one more caveat, although there's a little, I'm not quite sure that we all have the same idea of its meaning. There is a fourth year requirement to this grant, which means after the 3 years is up, we have to maintain those officers for a fourth year. Now, my read on that differs a little bit, but again, I'm not Lieutenant Giddens, and I know Sharon, Ms. Beauchamp, Madam Clerk. like I keep saying, the likelihood of me keeping my staffing at 123, that's only happened once since I've been here in those 4 years. And so I read it a little differently. It's, if I, the fourth year comes and I don't have 123 officers, I'm not sure how we could be held to that. But anyway, but please I wanted to throw that out just so we're clear.
So that's basically with the $100,000 a year that we're going to contribute to match, and then the fourth year, was that 375 plus 1? Is that, it was talking about like a $775,000 commitment? Is that the way I'm reading it?
What we're looking at is about a $700,000 commitment, of which half is the federal government and half is us.
Okay, I just.
And at the end of that time frame, we would be responsible for 3 officers, which generally our cost for an officer is going to be between $80,000 and $100,000, depending on longevity of the officer.
Need to rush it.
All right, I just want to know what we're buying.
Yeah.
Was that a motion you made, Mr. Bird?
No, I didn't get a second, though.
That's
I was inquiring, and then we had some
We have more
discussion going from
So tell me what we're looking for here is the city council in favor of the 2020 cops hiring program, and do you want to move forward with that? Financing you can figure out, but if you do it this way, then the city's for it. Then you can have a conversation in the CRAs if you wanted to pick that up. What we're trying to figure out here is, do we want to do this program as a city council?
Move for approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the
Mr.
2020
Mayor?
cops hiring program.
Mayor, I'd like to make a
Any
motion to
discussion?
table.
I'm sorry?
Make a motion to table.
So we have a motion to table, do we have to,
No discussion, just.
No
no
discussion.
discussion, no nothing?
We have to vote.
You got to vote on it.
Got to vote.
Huh?
You have to vote. Each council person vote.
All right, there's a motion to table. Let's vote. Ward 2,
No.
3.
Well, I feel a little bit blindsided. I mean, I like the concept, but, this just came out of nowhere. So I'll go along with the tabling, yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
Yes.
Boy, what a shock.
1.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, point of order, do we have with the tabling motion?
26.
Yeah, we're going to have to work this out.
Okay, but the motion was just to table. So do we have, is the maker of the motion amenable to adding a date to it?
Yes, I am.
Is the second agreeable to that?
Yes.
Okay, but I mean, the motion was just to table
Right.
completely.
No, you're right.
We failed, I'm sorry,
I just said.
we didn't put the date in there, that was our
I
mistake.
didn't, and I had to move so quickly.
That's the reason I was looking at the calendar, I wanted to know.
Okay.
Unless we're
And
we're not having a meeting next week, are we?
No,
Mr.
we
Callahan.
got
Not
to
to
26.
26.
Our next regular meeting's 26, we're not having a special meeting because of budget's next week or anything, are we?
Only the council wants to hear things on the budget, but nothing is scheduled yet.
The
Okay,
26th
well,
is fine.
If a date had been added, you might have gotten a different vote, but you voted just to, the motion was just to table flatly,
You're correct.
gentlemen,
You're
and-
correct. And I apologize, but I
Apologies
quickly,
accepted.
I was trying to move quickly.
Well, if the motion wasn't done properly, should we restate the motion and vote again, or
We're
what?
meeting on the 26th, are we not?
Yes, there's a meeting on the 26th, regular council meeting.
And that's when it'll be brought back.
Yes, 26 is,
I mean, Mr. Rudisil, do we need to re-vote on that, or, because the motion was just to
Well,
table?
the motion was just to table, and that vote's already occurred.
So
What's
maybe
that?
somebody on the prevailing side might want to bring it up for reconsideration and add a date to it.
I think that would be fine if we wanted to approach it
I
that way.
have a question, because I always assumed that if you table in motion, it's at the next meeting anyway.
No.
It's
Table until-
tabled until there's a motion to pull it off the
Right.
table.
You have
It'd have
to
to
do it
be
at
a
the
motion
next
to pull it
meeting.
back off.
You have to do it at the next meeting, I thought.
Not,
Maybe I'm
not
wrong.
necessarily.
No, it can be tabled forever, I think.
Table forever, wow, okay.
Now do you see why I was so unhappy, gentlemen?
Brought back up.
Okay, let's just handle it,
Legally.
Maybe we need to have a course in Robert's rules.
Yeah, that one.
We don't want
Now, you're gonna have to tell me what the motion is here.
Well, right now, there was a motion to table that has passed. If one of the people on the prevailing side wants to make a motion to reconsider and table the matter to August 26th, then I think that would be something the council
So
could
moved.
consider.
Second.
We have a motion and a second.
Well, the motion is to reconsider,
Reconsider.
right?
The table.
Then do we need a,
Reconsider
then,
And go to the 26th.
Okay, so the motion to reconsider, or we had to vote on a reconsider?
Yes, if we're going by the book, yes, that's what the motion would be, to reconsider.
And is the 26th the date?
We're gonna
No.
do that next, we're gonna
We
do
have
that
to do
the
another
next-
motion.
That's gonna be the next move. So right now, we're gonna vote on reconsideration. I vote yes.
4,
Yes.
5?
Yes.
1?
What are we reconsidering?
That
The motion to
We're gonna
table.
now set a date on it in the next motion. This is Robert's rules.
Mr. Gallo?
No.
Ms. Barnaby?
yes.
Motion to reconsider, the vote's 4-1. Now,
Sir, I just want to throw in, it takes, and I'm just going to throw this out, it often takes 24 hours to submit the application. They tell you to allow for that. The application is due Friday, or the next day, 27th at 5 p.m. I'm just going to throw that out. I don't know if this could potentially cause us to miss that deadline. They actually encourage you to apply within 72 hours of the deadline because a lot of people are waiting till the last minute. Just as a reminder, I'll just say it one more time, accepting it today without the funding, we still have 30 days in which to say we don't want it. But I would hate that if council subsequently approves it or even disapproves it, and that because we haven't gotten in before that 24-hour window, and you're shaking your head too.
Yes, there could be a technical difficulty that would cause us to lose the grant. That is my understanding, and that is what I've read. If you cannot get in because their servers are slammed, because so many people have waited to the last minute, we could lose our opportunity. So that's a pretty tight window for when you're dealing with the feds, in our experience.
I appreciate the conversation. I am concerned that the 26th would cause us to be delayed on the grant. From my perspective, and I've managed many of our grants, I'm just looking for approval to submit the application further than what I'm at now. I can't secure the contract any further without approval for the mayor's signature, the mayor's, or the chief's signature, and Ms. Beauchamp's signature. If we, for some reason, I've had this conversation with the COPS office, if for some reason we choose to do something different within the next couple of weeks, I can withdraw it. I just can't go to the next step until I have approval. And that can't come until it's passed. So if you, and I know there's some back and forth, the way the grant was written, it was specifically targeting community policing in areas that we believe through statistical data that we need to target. Domestic violence, homicide, violent crimes. There's a lot of things that we can target. I know that there's a conversation back and forth about CRAs or citywide. That conversation is a very valid conversation. However, I'm just looking for approval to submit the application. There can be other discussions later, I would suggest, and if for some reason it didn't work out, we could obviously not move any further than that. But I am concerned about a timeline of the 26th.
Well, and I'm a little concerned about a timeline too, because I read in the Herald Tribune in June that we were awarded this grant. And I got here the copy of my city council agenda. Now, there's probably an update in my box, but it doesn't say anything about this. So, I mean, when I say I'm blindsided, yeah, this is the first I've heard about this today, to vote on this today, and a new funding source today. This is all brand new to me. And now I'm being told, oh, yeah, and you gotta sell, you gotta buy right now. Look, I'm okay with this, but this has been rushed on me. It's coming out of CRA funding as a source now. You know, we talked about the grant, you going for the grant. There wasn't an agreement to go for it, you went for it. Okay, there was, but then I read in the newspaper that we got it, and now it's not on my agenda.
It is on the revised agenda that was
Which,
available
okay,
Monday.
so I came straight in here today.
Okay.
And I didn't go upstairs, so.
Well, I'm sorry, Mr. Alfa. All I'm saying to you is that, yes,
Okay.
there was a revised agenda. We did get an email stating that there was a revised
Yes, we did.
agenda. And, you know, that's why I came in both Monday and Tuesday. So I
was here.
understand what you're saying.
And I was here on Monday.
I understand
So
what
it
you're
wasn't in my,
saying.
it wasn't there on Monday. So, and I just want to point out, this is a $700,000 commitment. We just went ahead and gave a major commitment upstairs for the contract and all that. I'm not opposed to this, but I don't like being rushed into, and that's where I feel like I am. I think we can work this out, but telling me that I'm you know, I gotta act now, that's a high-pressure sales technique. I think we can work through this.
Can I just point out that, I'm sorry.
Do you not understand
Yeah.
that we can accept it now, and we have 30 days to get out of it? We're not locked into it. What we're trying to do is get it going on front, get everything going. Let's don't take a chance of losing it. 30 days, we have the opportunity at any time to say, well, listen, it's not working out. We can't afford it. We don't want the CRAs to have to pay for it. Although keep in mind that we've done such good changes in our CRAs, they're getting all our tax money, and the general fund is hurting because of that.
Well, actually, Mr. Gallo, out of a $123 million budget, a few million in the CRAs is not all the money. I think that's
They're
an
getting all
exaggeration.
the new development that we're getting to build up is going to this right now.
All that's going into the CRAs is what's generated from the CRAs.
I understand that. I understand that.
What new development's going on in CCRA and the 14th Street CRA? I mean, it's basically tax valuations are going up. I don't know of any major developments that have added to the tax base in my CRA. What about yours?
Not that huge.
Okay, so that's not really accurate.
Okay.
Well, Mr. Mayor.
I'm okay with moving forward, and we can have a special meeting if there's a need to get this.
19th, Mayor?
I have no problem having a special meeting. However, again, when you have your elected board of council members also sitting as the CRA, this is bound to come up. I think what was done was just, the idea of the CRA was, this is a possible funding source. This is not an absolute. Those of us that sit as the CRA board can vote it up or down. I think it was shared as a funding source. If you're concerned about the general fund and you're concerned about making this agreement and having the money come out of the general fund for the next several years, one of the primary reasons of a CRA is to eliminate slum and blight. And I don't know any better way to do that than having an officer walking the beat. And that's what I'm hearing they're talking about doing.
The problem, Mrs. Barnaby, is that the CRA board has to discuss it in their board meeting prior to being said, this is the way it is. And so we were handed this as not a recommend, you can recommend it, but we've got to sit down and discuss it before, not afterwards.
Well,
It's a basic principle that in CRA that maintains in the board, not, thrown at. I feel like it was thrown in here at the last minute, and I'm being told to do it versus asked to do it. And that's the rub.
Mr. Mayor.
Let me go ahead and handle that a little bit. I think the whole idea is, we knew this date was coming, okay? We didn't know where we were with the budget until probably a week and a half ago. So we couldn't bring forward to you at any point in time any recommendation of how to do it until we started getting final numbers as to where the general fund budget was. When I talked to the chief, I said, you know, we may not be in a position where the city can say they're comfortable accepting it. Is there an alternate funding source that could make it happen if indeed they think getting the 3 officers is a good idea? The problem with bringing it up late is nobody wants to bring it up late. There's a deadline associated with the grant that we have to act on. We were late getting all kinds of information on our budgets. We know that. So it was just a case of bringing it forward at the best opportune time in order to be able to make a decision ahead of the deadline of acceptance. No intention to throw on anybody, to pressure anybody of anything. It is an alternative funding source that can be used if the CRA board is so inclined. There's another option that if you think you're going to hear more information in the CRA meeting, you can certainly, at the end of this meeting, just recess the meeting, have your CRA meeting, and come back into session if you think there's more information that's presented, and you'll be more comfortable after that.
You could certainly do that.
In the same session.
Or you could set up
In
a
the same day.
set up a special meeting.
And if I can just clarify timeline, the council approved the submission of this grant in February, and we did not learn we were awarded it until July 13th. I believe there was a council meeting that day, the day after. I did mention that under my business, that we'd been awarded it. And in conjunction with what Mr. Callahan is saying, he and I and Ms. Beauchamp and my staff have been trying to figure out if the city can afford that. And I mentioned that to you, I believe the last time I spoke here, it was either 2 weeks ago or before that. I said, I understand that there's other city needs and a lot of those need to be met. So I just, want to assure you there was no intent to surprise anybody with this. We truly just are, as with most grants, we're reacting as quickly as we can with the most information that we can. I will just say one more time, it would really be a shame. This is just saying, let's move this forward for more discussion. It would be a shame that we would lose out on a potential to improve police services, public safety within the city because of a technical inability to secure what has been rightfully awarded to us.
So what's the process of if you get approval August 26th? I mean, what's the process? It's just a get online and say, we take it, we're agreed to it? You're not talking about it's a lengthy process, are you? The lengthy process is already behind you.
I can't guarantee that. It's the COPS office. The programming sometimes requires several steps. What I wouldn't want is to get approval on the 26th, and for some technical reason, their computer system's down. I can't get in. It's backed up. I've got to run around and get other pieces of
So you'd be fine if we reviewed this August 19th? That'd give you 7 days?
Personally, I'd like to have it done by the 17th, but I could go to the 19th if for some reason you need that. It would give me enough time to pivot, and if I needed to secure some additional signatures, I could do that.
I just think we need more information before we make a quick decision. But, I'm for the program. It's a great program. But we've got some budget issues that probably needs to be discussed prior to this, and I'd be willing to go to the 19th if everybody else would.
Well, I'm willing to go to meet on the 17th if that's what our officer needs.
What is the 17th?
It's a Monday.
It's a Monday.
Why would, you just said 24 hours. See, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to move forward on this, and I'd like to have unanimous consent. I have people over here that want to wait, people over here that want to get it done now. I'm trying to figure out, you said it needs 24 hours, and now, a week earlier, the 17th isn't good enough. Once again, why is that not, if it's only 24 hours, if we can't do it on the 26th, and we're moving it all the way up a week earlier to the 19th, why does that not work?
I guess I don't understand the question. I'm concerned that if I have the 26th to work on it after your meeting.
No,
that the 26th to 27th, I may not be able to get it
Oh,
done if
okay.
I needed to secure
Okay,
some
I
other
think-
signatures.
I think the question was then, if we move it up to the 19th, that you'll
The
have-
19th would work. I personally wanted to get this done by the 17th so that I didn't have to battle any other computer system or other problems. I can work with the 19th, gives me plenty of time to grab other signatures if I need to. I'm not disputing that.
I'm
I
just
just
trying to
was
get
sharing
back
you
to
my
it.
personal thoughts, and then yes, I can move on the 19th.
Okay.
Well, I'd move that we amended whatever to the 19th versus 26th. Special meeting on the 19th.
That's the motion. That's the motion we've been waiting for.
So what is it, to table the matter to the 19th?
Table the matters to the 19th.
Second.
A motion and a second.
Okay.
All right, everybody got that?
Yeah.
To the 19th.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, the motion moves the table to the 19th to vote on this. Let's vote Ward 4,
Yes.
5, 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
3.
Yes.
Vote is 5-0. August 19th. Okay. Got that? All right. Council reports, Mr. Gallo.
Nothing to report.
Council reports, Mary and Councilwoman Barnaby.
Thank you, sir. I would just like to say that I am certain that all of you join my family and me sending our deepest sympathies to Mayor Groover Bryant in Palmetto for the loss of her brother.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Ms. Rolfe?
Well, I was going to ask Carl about CARES Act, but I'll just put that off for another meeting. So no report.
Mr. Sanders?
Yeah, I'd like to finish with Mr. McCullen about the 27th Street Road, what we're going to propose to get with the county to get something done, or the MPO, but I think the county is probably the best option. What is your recommendation? How can we?
Which aspect of 27th?
Well,
Plenty of stuff.
basically all of it, especially the traffic at the stop sign of 27th and, like, was it MLK or?
Well, I will follow up with my counterpart at Public Works at the county to determine, because Mr. Woodin's still here, of who he spoke to find out about getting their flashers in along 27th to go along with the two that we installed on 9th Avenue East.
But I'm talking more about lane extensions down to the next. I mean, we've got a lot of development around the corner from Mixon's there.
I understand, but it's a massive right-of-way acquisition process.
Absolutely.
The county is looking at a
Are they?
long-term project to make 27th Street a 4-lane road at some point in the future. There are multiple projects on their half-cent CIP project list related to 27th Street, but they're all 26th Avenue and south because of it's a mess. Right now, they're in the process of rebuilding several hundred feet of sidewalk along that stretch between 13th and 9th. They have barricades up and the sidewalks are closed as they're getting prepared to do a sidewalk reconstruction project in that area.
On 27th?
Mhm.
So wouldn't that be the cart before the horse? Why you put the sidewalks in before you know what?
Because the sidewalks are already there, they're destroyed.
Oh.
And they're in.
So they're going to replace them and then perhaps destroy them again if they put
But
lanes in?
we're talking years out. It's not going to happen overnight.
Oh, so this is not an option. And well, why are we talking about it? 10 years is not, we got a problem today.
I understand, but there's no simple solution to a problem that exists that's been in place without right-of-way acquisition. If I walked out there today with the county and we knocked on everybody's door and said, we'd like to buy your house so we can make this a 4-lane road, it's years in the process of just to get that legal aspect done if everybody agreed to it.
And Mr. Gallo brought up 26th Street, Mr. Sanders, and the council, or the county was going to do that all the way through.
Your fault.
And they stopped to where they did and said to the city, we can't afford that land acquisition, so we're not going to do it.
And I'll tell you right now, I get asked 2 or 3 times a year by my counterpart at county, will will you take 26th Street West, please?
Right.
I'm like, no, fix it first. I'm not gonna buy a broken down car first.
Right.
Jim, is not the problem on 26th Street and 27th Street, basically, there is no right-of-way left, that you almost have to buy every home on that street to make it 4-lane?
Definitely on 27th Street. I'd have to look at 26th and more. There's portions that,
26th Street's the same way. I mean, there's not even any room to put sidewalks.
I understand. Yeah.
So, I mean, it's ancient, is what it is. And I don't believe it can be fixed without saying, okay, we're gonna
Well,
buy
on
every
20
house on the street.
On 27th Street, on the east side, you've got the Pirates, you got our city golf course, you got Mixon's, so that from almost MLK to that next block is all, would be better option than the homes. Why couldn't the acquisition be on that side of the street?
well,
I mean, that's all, a lot of it's government
In order to
property.
make it a 4-lane road in that area, you would be going into the ball fields of Pirate City, because the ball fields come right up to the fence line. It's
It'd certainly be in their parking lot.
like anything else.
Ball fields are probably 200 feet from there.
No, no, they're not. They're right up against the fence line.
Fence line is probably 50 feet.
I play the golf course a lot. I drive by it all the time, so I do know. So
Well, you're saying it's not fixable.
I'm not saying it's not fixable. I'm just saying it's not fixable in the short term and without a lot of money.
I would say that Mr. Roth is very familiar with the process, and it's the Wares Creek process just for a road.
It's probably an MPO project.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Probably.
I mean, it's a
You know,
major,
that's 7 years, it would be a fast turnaround.
Absolutely.
Well, Mr. Mayor, one of the
doesn't
things,
mean we shouldn't start now.
Right,
yeah,
right. We should-
and you have to advocate a position on it simply because of the fact, if you go back to, we were talking about the flyover and they're looking at alternatives, you know, that thing, they looked at some of those traffic situations, and it's not a localized thing, that's pass-through traffic. They're going someplace else.
But in
And-
going to the MPO, if the city of Bradenton and Manatee County were
Right.
both advocating for it,
Advocating.
it's a stronger position.
Exactly.
All right, so that's what we should be doing and probably should have already been doing, but we need to do that now, right?
I'm sorry.
We need to be advocating
Yeah.
from the county and city standpoint at the MPO and try to get it prioritized.
I no problem in doing that. It's just a matter of how long it's going to take. So we'll start the process with the
And
county.
Keep in mind, back when I was chairman of the MPO, we were told that even what was considered an expedited project, it would take 8 years from the time the first shovel of dirt was turned until the roadway was opened. And that's if you don't have to acquire right-of-way.
I understand, but 8 years doesn't start until you make it start.
Right.
You got
Understood.
to start,
We, you know,
and then start the clock
needs to-
ticking.
It absolutely needs to be addressed, but it's one of these things. I know that there are individuals that have lived on that street for generations. And to be able to do, even if it wasn't a 4-lane road, let's say if we did a 2-lane road with, and I don't care for the word, somebody else.
Suicide lane.
They're called suicide lanes, but if there was a turn lane inserted in the middle, and it was just a 3-lane road, you're still gonna have to acquire a ton of right-of-way.
Yeah.
And, you know, trust me, I know all the cut-throughs that are over in that area. And if part of the problem stems from you have a no right turn on red at Manatee Avenue, which backs traffic up. Okay? And if I'm happy to have a
Should
conversation.
that be changed?
It's a safety concern. It's a DOT call because if you pull out there, it's a partially blind turn, and
And they're
people
going
going
100 miles an hour.
and nobody's doing 45 at that point on
Absolutely
Manatee
not.
Avenue.
you'd
So,
get run over at 45.
The only thing that you could possibly do is the concept of when there is a dedicated a dedicated left turn arrow for people turning south onto 27th Street off of Manatee Avenue. If you at that same time had a dedicated right turn arrow on 27th Street to turn onto Manatee Avenue, I'm happy to have that
Let's
conversation.
advocate for that. That's a quick fix.
FDOT.
Now, that doesn't mean that.
In our world,
that
it's a
doesn't
quick
mean
fix,
FDOT's
but
gonna
in
say
DOT
yes
world-
quickly, but.
Yeah.
Look at the quick fixes we had downtown 3 years ago.
Well,
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, when we wanted to consider putting street signs on the mast arms in downtown, they had to reevaluate the structural integrity of the mast arms to be able to tell us whether or not an additional wind load associated with the street sign. So putting another signal. I'm just telling you there are aspects of it that you have to consider. I'm happy to have the conversation and see if we can get that moving.
okay.
Okay.
Anything else, Mr. Senior?
Yeah, I have one other thing, and maybe you resolved it. If you say you resolved it, that's the end of conversation. We have a guy that's building a couple houses over on 17th and First, and he wasn't able to get approval through planning, and you addressed it because you didn't know if there was water or sewage in
Just
that.
sewer. Just
Sewer, sewer, there was water, but I walked in there and I saw a sewer line clean out on the neighbor's property on the south side of First. So if they got a clean out, it obviously goes out to the road, so why wouldn't it be connected to a building?
But there's no sewer line from that clean out is the last of the line on First Avenue.
So which way does it go? Does it go toward the
goes to the
16th?
west.
It goes to the
west.
Goes to the west 16th.
Mhm.
So you can't run his property over to that?
He could do it, but he wanted to put the house on a certain portion of it. We asked him where he was gonna make the connections. He wanted us to design it for him. Sorry, that's not our job to design it for him. We offer him the information that's available to say, where are the utilities that are associated with this? And then he wanted to come back and have an easement across the property to go out to First Avenue. And our only point was, have you even looked at it to make sure that you can get there?
I'm having a hard time understanding why it would be the owner of the property's responsibility to figure out where we can put a sewer line.
No. It's a question of, do we have a sewer line or not?
Yeah.
We have a sewer main out in the street that ends to the west of their property.
Right.
We have that information to tell him. The question is, how are you going to connect to it? He was proposing that you're just going to come right out the front of his house, that he was proposing, and connect into the utilities out in the street.
So he could
They
run
weren't
a
there.
line,
The
he could
sewer
run a line
wasn't
down
there.
along the edge of his property and connect into 17th Street?
But now you're running a private line
Right.
in an area, and
But
it
he
all
would have
comes down
ownership
to
of it.
maintenance and who's responsible for it.
Him?
Good for him. But all we're saying is how you were going to do it.
Well, we can't put a line out in the street?
For one house that we have to put in, that's not we would normally require the homeowner to do that for themselves if it's not there. Oh, I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't understand either.
I
don't
talked to
understand.
Mr. Hamilton yesterday, although he was not happy, he was prepared to move forward. I talked to him about the reasons for needing to know because of the Manville property and having properties out there that had not indicated where the utilities were, to make sure that there weren't issues with how to be able to get to the line that he wanted. He understood. He was trying to make sure that he didn't have a repetitive type house, that on the corner,
Right.
the house he already did, the blue house that he did with another ownership in between, this was going to be a house very similar, and he was hoping to locate it in a north-south direction versus an east-west direction so as to not get a repetitive look. I talked to him at length yesterday, explained to him all the issues with that. He understood it, didn't like it, he understood it. But that was as of yesterday afternoon when I talked to Jeff.
And he submitted a revised drawing, and our folks have already said should be easy approval at this point.
So he was hooked to the sewer line out on 17th?
In 17th, yes.
So that if he wanted another house over on First, he wouldn't be able to do that unless he could connect it back over 17th?
Or he'd have to figure out whether or not, because again,
He'd have to go out into the street and put his own line in.
Correct.
So he can go out and connect one way or the other if the elevation is there.
Correct. But our problem is, when a building permit comes in and it doesn't show anything associated with it, all we're trying to prevent is somebody getting a building permit, they go ahead, they start building vertical construction, and then find out they have no option on how to connect to something.
Well, he's doing it prior to that, but. I mean, yeah.
But we've had circumstances where that's occurred. And then really nobody's happy, because then you have to talk about, do you have to put a pump station in for an individual home, which nobody wants to do.
Well,
And I don't
think
blame them.
You got a pump station around the corner, but.
No, I'm saying for an individual home,
Right.
to have a pump station in their home in order to get
It
into
just
the-
seems highly unusual that the only property along that whole street doesn't have a sewer connection in front of it.
I can only tell you that that's
Yeah,
some of
it's
the
like-
oldest portion
I don't
of the city,
understand.
and things got built the way they got built in the 1950s.
I'm not putting blame, I'm just saying, we're the city, we should provide.
And we're willing, we do provide. He has the capability to connect. And I didn't preclude the fact that he couldn't connect the other way that he wanted to do. It just needed to be looked at.
So we're gonna look at it?
No, I told him what his options were. He came back and said, you left me no option, I'm gonna go this way. Okay.
Well,
I
he
didn't leave
did-
you
he
no
didn't think
option.
anybody was willing to find out where the line was.
I had one email correspondence with him on Friday. Me. Anybody else that talked to him, I don't know.
So the long and short of this, can you go out and do a locate and find out where that line is to the neighbor, which is 100 feet from there, and bring one down in front of his property?
I don't know what his elevations are for his house that he's proposing as far as what the sewer is. We can look and say, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna put for you to connect onto that pipe, it's at elevation X, you're 100 and something feet away, the minimum slope on the pipe to meet plumbing code is X. How deep are you at that point? And is the pipe only 6 inches deep in the road at that point? That's unacceptable, because the pipe will break.
Okay. But who determines that?
There's some ownership on the ownership for the homeowner to be able to tell us that from that.
So he has to
standpoint.
hire an engineer to go out into the city street and,
If he's gonna build a sewer out in the city street, he would have to submit a right-of-way use permit for us.
I'm just saying, why can't we do it?
Because I don't think, I'll just venture out here, I'm not sure that that's a precedent we want to set, and I'm not sure that it's our responsibility to undertake that for a private property owner.
Under normal circumstances, there's a sewer main in the street, a person wants to develop a lot, they come in, they pay a tapping fee, we go out to the sewer, tap it, run a line to their property line, and that's it. When there isn't a main in the street, it becomes more complicated.
He's complaining to me, he's paid $20,000 in permits and fees,
He hasn't paid a
and
penny
he's not
to
getting
me.
the service.
He hasn't paid a penny to me. I
He
have
said
no,
to the city, I
Public
don't
Works
know.
doesn't have any fees associated with it.
Okay, well, I don't know, I'm just telling you what he said, and it just seems awful lot of money to not have.
Well, no offense, but there are two sides to every story.
I understand, but I'm just not understanding but one side.
Mhm. So, if it's the purview of council for us to design people's individual sewers, please let me know.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Gallo?
may an old guy give an example? Bill just, and I'm supporting Jim and what he's saying and what Mary Ann said. The home I live in, I built in 1985. It's a corner lot, and I wanted it to face 27th Avenue. There is a sewer line that runs down 27th Avenue, but was no connection where I lived. Then there's a sewer line that runs on the east of me, but because I wanted to face my house a different direction, I had to run out the front of my house and then diagonally go to the side of my house. It cost me $1,800 more. I couldn't expect the city to do that because it was my
No, I understand
you know.
that. And he's not saying he wouldn't pay the cost. I haven't heard him say, he's willing to pay the cost, he just doesn't know how to do it. He just doesn't understand how to, no,
I didn't
he says,
either.
can I
That's
put it
why I
out
hired a
there?
plumber.
I think he'll pay the cost.
Well, but again, it's attaching private, something from someone's private property onto the city
But that's
system.
up and down every street.
Yeah, but it's kind of like the original sewer line in the house that I live in that was built by Mr. Lewis in 1948. So the original sewer line finally gave up the ghost. It was, correct me if I'm wrong, if I'm not saying it right, Orangeburg?
Oh, Orangeburg, excellent place.
It was paper.
Yes, it's
That's-
tar paper.
That's all over the country.
Right, okay, but when it gave up the ghost, it was my responsibility, and I had to have somebody hand dig it to be able to fix it and attach it to the city.
Only up to where the city owns.
Right.
Right. That's the way it should be. These are apples and oranges you're explaining.
Oh, okay, then I obviously don't understand the issue then.
The issue is, he's putting a house on a piece of property, he wants to connect into the city sewer line. How does he do it? City sewer line is not there, but it's 75 feet the other direction. Each way, how does he do it? Tell me how to do it, I'll pay for it.
Well, again,
If I was there, I'd be angry too.
Well, no offense, but that is not how it came across to us, that he was willing to pay whatever cost. He just wanted it
Maybe
done.
I've been told misrepresented, but yes, he'll
That's
pay
a
for it,
shock.
but he doesn't work for the city. It's not his place to design a city line. We should already be saying, hey, if you want to do this, this will cost 1,800, whatever, I'm making it up. And yeah, you can do it, but it's going to be our line because we're going to service it, whether you're here or you're dead and gone or whoever. So this is what we want. If you want that house there, then this is what's going to cost you. That's all I'm saying. Can we do that?
We can tell him how much it would cost
Yeah.
to run a pipe there.
Right.
Absolutely. But he
That's all
never
I'm
asked.
asking. That's all I'm asking for him, because I didn't understand it, and I still don't understand why we can't tell him what it costs to put a line right back in front of his house. So we can do that then. I'll tell him we can do that.
Yeah, if he's willing to pay
So
for the pipe.
here, he's up at the
I can't guarantee that it's possible to get there
Well,
to
okay,
his house.
but how quick can we do it? Because he's up against the deadline, because he's ordered these houses just like he has over in Ward 3, which he's taken on, how many over there, 18?
No.
Well, he's committed to 2, but he's got first options on the others.
Yes, he's committed to 8.
8?
8.
No,
And
no,
he's
no.
got 2, and then there's 3 here, so,
He's committed to 2.
Committed to 2.
okay.
He has options.
I just think we need to work with the guy.
And I did. I worked with him to explain the situation to him, and then he threw up his hands and said, "You left me no option, I have to do this." And that is not true. And I chose not to respond to him because he
How
was
soon
being...
could you take a look at that and give him a number?
I'll have somebody take a look today to see if we
Okay,
can pop in and
That's all I'm
figure
saying,
it
and
out.
if he says, I ain't paying, then fine, then you're gonna have to figure it out on your own, mister. I don't know what to tell you. But he's just thinking nobody wants to look at it. That's the way I gather, and maybe I'm wrong too, but I thought he was gonna show up, and here I am defending him, and I don't even know him. He did say he went to Indiana University, so I like that part.
who's your daddy?
All right, I'll tell him that then. Thank you, that's all I have.
Mr. Sanders, at one point, I had a call from, and I don't know if she'd spoken to you already when she called me. She complained, because it was someone in Village Green. Nice lady, but she was complaining that she now had ants in her yard, and she went out and followed them back to the city median. And we were supposed to come and get the ants out of her yard because they were city ants.
Yeah, that's nothing. I got armadillos.
They got sunglasses on, right? They have sunglasses on.
Yeah, they're kind of cute, but
What's that, possum on the half shell?
Yeah.
Mr. Byrd?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I had a few things, but I'll just wait since we have a special meeting on the 19th, and time is getting by, and we have a special CRA meeting today, so nothing to report.
Thank you. I have nothing to report. Ms. Beauchamp?
I'm sorry, I do. We have a Council of Governments meeting that's coming up on September 1st at 4 p.m. It's a Zoom meeting. The RSVP agenda or deadline is August 20th, and we need to do a resolution for the next council meeting if anyone is willing to attend or is interested in attending. So I'm just trying to get feedback on if anyone will be interested in going, and does anyone have an agenda item?
Okay, this is the Manatee County?
Council of Governments, yes.
Well, that might be a good place to fire the opening salvo on what are we going to do on 27th Street.
And 26th, I think they said.
Mike?
Councilwoman Barnaby has an agenda item.
I'd say a good suggestion. That's a good start.
So noted.
Yeah.
Also, while you're at that, could you mention the ethics?
Oh, yes, the county sent out their email. I don't know if you all received it, that they are doing their annual ethics training. It will be virtual as well, and I believe Corey sent an email to everyone asking if anyone wanted to be signed up for that. That's the annual training that you all need to receive. And rather than doing it in
We
person.
don't have any other options, do we?
Well,
Well, other entities do offer it. I've already taken mine, but this is probably one of the later ones in the year that you'll have the opportunity to attend. It's the same meeting that the county puts on every year, only this time it's virtual.
And the county sent emails to everybody.
Yes, and I think Corey offered to sign anyone up who was interested, so please get with my office or get with me if you want to have feedback on that as well. And I hate to bring this up, but I'm going to, and I might need Attorney Rudisil's assistance on this. There was an item that was tabled from July 22nd that hasn't been brought back up yet. It was Resolution 2056, reappointing Diane Barkus and Michael Jones to the Planning Commission. There were questions about Michael Jones's association with the city, and I had sent out information the next day saying he's employed in the city. We have not yet taken care of this resolution, and I just wanted to remind you all of that in case it had slipped your minds.
Was it a date on the tabling motion?
No.
Oh, okay.
So we need a motion to approve those two folks?
Well, first you need to make a motion. I'm sorry, Mr. Earslow, go right ahead.
Yes, we'd need a motion to pull that item off the table for consideration.
question first.
Question
That's
first.
one that got tabled.
What's that?
That's one that was tabled?
Correct, for the motion that was tabled.
We tabled it because,
There was a question, one of the applicants for the Planning Commission, Michael Jones, it was unclear whether or not he had an association with the city of Bradenton or not. And he works in the city of Bradenton, and I had sent out the
okay,
documentation.
I still have questions on what our rules are. Do you work in I thought the rule was you lived in the city or you owned a business in the city, not just worked in the
Place
city.
of businesses in the city, or you live in the city.
You own a business?
You work in your principal.
So I can work
place
at
of
McDonald's, and I'm in the city, right?
business. Sounds to me like.
Well, I didn't make the rules, that's
Well,
asking what they
yeah,
are.
I'm agreeing with you.
Okay. Okay.
I believe they changed over time. I think when I first came in, you had to live in a city, and then it became you had to own a business in a city, and then it became you just got to have a job in a city. So,
Well, I was sent
Which
that
is
by
fine.
Ms. Beauchamp, and every one of the boards are just a little bit different.
Yes,
Yeah.
they all
And so
have their
that's
own
where the
rules.
confusion comes in. It's like, well, wait a minute, which board is it? I have to go back and read the rules again.
Correct.
But I don't know why we're not uniform on all of them.
They were all adopted at different times by
Different
different
times.
groups of people.
But you think we'd get them all in sync so where we all doesn't have to question it?
okay.
Well, and
And the
some of
different
them,
boards have different responsibilities
Right.
as well.
some of them
That's why
have,
they're adopted in different ways.
Right.
and some of them state that you need to have specific
Yes.
occupations
Absolutely.
on the board.
Yep.
So you need a motion to
Take it off the table.
untable the planning commission appointments.
Resolution 2056.
So done.
Second.
So we vote on this one, Scott?
Correct, so what this vote would just be to pull it off the table so that it can then be considered.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Let's vote. Ward 5?
Yes.
1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
All right, it's all,
Move to approve motion 2056, appointment to the Planning Commission.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, let's vote. Ward 1?
Yes.
2?
Yes.
3?
Yes.
4?
Yes.
5?
Yes.
Motion is approved, votes 5-0. They're on the planning commission.
Okay. I
Anything else, Ms.
appreciate-
Beauchamp?
That's it.
Jim?
So, to reiterate something that was in last week's report, there'll be a one-day closure of Old Main between 6th and Manatee as they're replacing the brick paver crosswalk that's at mid-block. It'll be a one-day thing, but just so nobody's caught off guard when that detour goes into a place, there has been coordination with the county as well as with MCAT to make sure that everybody's aware of the situation.
We have the street lighting on Old Main.
The street lighting, it was off for a couple of nights
Yeah.
because apparently the electricians working on it had turned off the breaker and
wow.
walked away after they were done at the end of the day and
Nice.
forgot to turn the breaker back on. So that won't happen again.
Good.
The street lights, the tree lights
Tree lights.
are working from 3rd to Baccarata.
They look great.
So we're working on getting the last portions of them wired up here as well. And just to give you an indication, the streetscape project has been going on since,
Forever.
well, by the construction,
Probably a year now.
about a year. We just got the DOT permit in order to make the modifications we need to at the intersections of Manatee and 6th. So, and that's a simple permit.
Yeah, that's the easy part.
Anyway.
Thank you. Chief, you have it?
No grants.
Firefighter. No, I just want to give you a quick update on the construction project out at 3. As you know, we got the new building going to be starting soon. What we're doing right now is the Red Cross building, I got to move all of our folks over there. So we've got tandem construction, finishing that up. Looks good. They put some showers, worked on the restroom, some plumbing and communication and everything over there, some security fences and everything set up. So they're wrapping up that project. We're in the process of moving all of our stuff over there this week. So hopefully I got the guys living out of that next week. So, and then I'm working on getting a pre-construction meeting with Crawford Construction and get that started. So,
Great.
yep, it's coming along.
Also, just like to add that Tandem has been, for such a small piecemeal work, has been great to work with over at Red Cross and over at Fire Station Number 1.
They've been really good, real easy.
Yeah, they're really good. Chief, you have anything else? Carl?
Yes, sir.
Scott?
I've got about a 45-minute PowerPoint, Tamara. If you'd pull that up, we'll get started.
Isn't that for the CRA meeting?
I don't have anything.
Anybody have anything else for the good of the order? Stand adjourned.
All right. Mr. Chairman of the